Hello. How is everybody doing? Assalamu alaikum. Did you catch the transition? Wooly made that for me, right? Just like the spitting thingy. Did you catch it? Let me play it again. Maybe you can read what it says. Let me play it again. Okay? Hold on. I got to transition to something. It says malarkey, and it's Joe Biden sniffing his wife's fingers. Could you think of anything worse? Honestly, could you think of anything worse? I got a lot more cooking, man. This ain't it. All right, it's not gonna stop there. We got lots more cooking. Oh God, I can't wait to show you. Shit, man, we gotta laugh, otherwise we're gonna cry. But let's take a look, right? First of all, first order of business. Roll call. Sound off in the comments, okay? I wanna see you all present and accounted for, okay? So sound off in the comments. Tell me that you're here, right? The class is in session. I will not commence until you are all ready to go. And even if you're watching on replay, I check the comments. So let's do this, man. Are you ready? I got my Unity ring. Unity. Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but this is like the one Rick James has, right? Dave Chappelle. Mona got me this. Got my Unity ring. And since this is the Unity administration, Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult, well, we have to embrace the slogan, right? Unity. So let's go, man. Oh God. Y'all ain't ready. So you'll allow me 1 second to get this set up for you. I have, okay, hold on. I'll talk when I'm done. Okay. So Joe Biden had his first press conference today, right? His first press conference, and he talked about a lot of things. Well, he tried to talk about a lot of things, and this was really interesting. So I've broken this down into chunks, into different groups, into different topics. And you know what's interesting is that it was a bunch of malarkey. Indeed it was. And I suffer through this so you don't have to. Okay, let's get to it. So I want to start out with the migrant crisis, as they like to call it, which is, you know, basically the kids in cages. They call them migrants, but they're actually refugees. So there are several things that he said here. And let's try and go through them, okay? So pay attention to the way the reporter asks this question, okay? Just pay attention to the question and how they're just slobbering, they're salivating, you know, over him. So let's do this, okay?
Right now, this is. You've said over and over again that immigrants shouldn't come to this country right now. This isn't the time to come. That message is not being received. Instead, the perception of you that got you elected as a moral, decent man is the reason why a lot of immigrants are coming to this country and entrusting you with unaccompanied minors. How do you resolve that tension? And how are you choosing which families can stay and which can go, given the fact that even though with Title 42, there are some families that are staying? And is there a timeline for when we won't be seeing these overcrowded facilities run by CPB when it comes to unaccompanied minors?
Well, look, I guess I should be flattered. People are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening. That I'm a decent man, or however it's phrased. That, you know, that's why they're coming, because no, Biden's a good guy. Truth of the matter is, nothing has changed. As many people came, 28% increase in children to the border in my administration, 31% in the last year in 2019 before the pandemic in the Trump administration. It happens every single solitary year. There is a significant increase in the number of people coming to the border in the winter months of January, February, March. It happens every year. In addition to that, there is and by the way, does anybody suggest that there was a 31% increase under Trump because he was a nice guy?
He caught himself. He caught himself in his own bullshit, right? Look, they're coming because I'm a nice guy. Oh wait, there was a 31% increase under Trump. Does that mean he's a nice guy too? Oh no, I can't say that. So I'm going to backtrack it now. Did you see how they asked that? You know, people are coming because you're a decent man, right? You, Mr. Joe Biden, the rapist, the guy who tried to cut Social Security innumerable times. You know, the guy who started the war in Iraq. Yes, you, the decent man. This is why people are sending their kids to you. Not because you destroyed their countries, right? You and your cronies. No, it's because you're a decent man. Oh, I'm flattered. And he, you know, throughout the conference, I'm sure he said it at least 2 or 3 times. Again, right? Like I'm a nice guy. What are you, Trump? I'm a nice guy. Everybody likes me. They know who I am. Oh, it's horrible. The entire press conference was like this, huh? Asking him these softballs. So, and then of course the real Biden comes out. The real Biden. You know which Biden I'm talking about. The send them back Biden. The working with segregation is Biden, right? So mask off, okay? And I'm just skipping ahead 1 minute, huh? This is just about roughly 1 minute. This ring is so obnoxious. Unity. Oh God, I hate this administration. Take a look at this, all right?
If you take a look at the number of people who are coming, the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of people coming to the border and crossing are being sent back. Thousands, tens of thousands of people who are over 18 years of age and single people, one at a time coming, have been sent back, sent home. We're sending back the vast majority of the families that are coming. We're trying to work out now with Mexico their willingness to take more of those families back. But that's what's happening. They're not getting across the border. And those who are coming across the border who are unaccompanied.
Yo. He's like, what are you complaining about? We're sending those brown people back. Shut up already. What are you complaining about? The families were sending them back. The single people were sending them back. Why are you complaining? Holy shit. How many times did he say it? He's proud of that? He's bragging that he's tough on immigration? Hold on a second. I thought you're supposed to, I thought the Democrats are supposed to be the nice guys. You just said a minute ago you're a nice guy. Why are you sending all these people back, Joe? Oh no. Are you a piece of shit? Oh, it's stinky. Oh no. Hey, hold on. We're not done, huh? So, I mean, you know, yesterday we covered the fact that they're not letting journalists in, right? So the Biden administration, because they know how horrendous the conditions are inside of these migrant overflow facilities, the detention camps, they're not letting reporters in, okay? Like, I'm not exaggerating, just you're barred, no reporters. So he was asked about it, okay? Now take a look at what he says, all right?
Do you think it's possible that
We will leave. The question is.
Oh, excuse me. I was a bit too early. Let me advance over here.
How soon will journalists be able to have access to the facilities? We've obviously been allowed to be inside one, but we haven't seen the facilities in which children are packed together to really give the American people a chance to see that. Will you commit to transparency on this issue?
I will commit to transparency. And as soon as I am in a position to be able to implement what we're doing right now, and one of the reasons I haven't gone down, all my chief folks have gone down, is I don't want to become the issue. I don't want to be, bringing all the Secret Service and everybody with me to get in the way. So this is being set up.
Listen, you don't understand. You don't understand. Joe Biden is a decent man. He's too popular. He doesn't want to distract you from your duties, okay? If he goes down there, you got the Secret Service. He doesn't want to distract you, okay? So he's not going to actually visit, the peasants that are locked in the cages. No, come on. Doesn't distract anyone, right? He's so modest. Oh my God, how modest, right? You have 15,000 children locked up, tens of thousands more adults. No, he's too modest. He can't go down there. After all, why would he go down there? It's not a crisis. They refuse to refer to it as a crisis. Why would Joe Biden go down there, right? God, they're so horrendous, these people. They really are.
Responsibility for everything that's happening.
Doing right now. And one of the reasons I haven't gone down, I have all my chief folks have gone down, is I don't want to become the issue. I don't want to be, bringing all the Secret Service and everybody with me to get in the way. So this is being set up, and you'll have full access to everything once we get this thing moving.
Okay, and just to be clear, how soon will that be, Mr. President?
I don't know, to be clear.
Responsibility for everything that's happening at the border now. I hear you talking a lot about the past administration. You decided to roll back some of those.
Did you see that? So first of all, he won't answer the question, right? It's just a bunch of jargon. It's just nonsense. It's platitudes, right? Yeah, I'm gonna give you a response, on that rundown when we have like a timeline thing and we get our people in, and we'll have some developments for you as soon as they come in. And what the fuck are you saying, asshole? Give a date, time. What is wrong with you? No, he won't answer it. And she's like, just to be clear, when is that? Yeah, I can't tell you right now. She just lets him go. And then to be fair, she does ask him, like, do you bear any responsibility for what's going on there, right? Because you keep blaming Trump. That's what they're doing the whole time. They're just talking about Trump. No, you're in charge now. That's why you ran. Didn't you run for president so that you are in control now? To get rid of Trump? I thought you're the man now. You are the president. Don't tell me about Trump. What are you doing? You're in the White House. You. And he laughs. Did you see how he scoffed? He scoffed at her. Unbelievable.
In addition to that, there is a...
So another thing that was absolutely amazing to me is and I can't remember the timestamp for this. You'll forgive me because it's a bit over an hour long. So he was also laughing at another journalist asking about this, and I want to point you to his response about why people are coming there, right? Because once again, they call them migrants, and they try to portray it as, oh, these people are irresponsible. Like, they're just traveling thousands of miles and, risking their lives for fun, and being locked up in these appalling conditions for fun. So listen to the response that he gives about why they're coming there, right? I think it's very interesting.
In addition to that,
right.
I'm not going to do it. That's why I've asked the Vice President of the United States yesterday to be the lead person on dealing with focusing on the fundamental reasons why people leave Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador in the first place. It's because of earthquakes, floods. It's because of lack of food. It's because of gang violence. It's because of a whole range of things that when I was vice president had the same obligation to deal with unaccompanied children.
What?
I was able.
Did he really say that? He said it's because of earthquakes, floods, and it's just natural disasters? Come on, Joe. You know better than that. You know. What have you and your friends been doing for the last couple of decades? Huh? You and your neoliberal friends, what kind of policies have you been implementing? What have you been doing in Latin America, in Central America? You've been sending a Peace Corps there, or you've been sending the CIA to coup other countries, to install military right-wing dictatorships? Huh? Who's responsible for a lot of this gang violence? Who pushed the war on drugs? Who wrote the crime bill? That was you. That was Joe Biden. And now he's acting like, oh, it's, dude, it's just like these tectonic plates. They keep shifting. And now we have just 15,000 children that are like in our cages. I don't know how this happened. I have no clue. You motherfucker. Unbelievable. And he just goes on for several minutes, right? Yeah, and he just never answers a question properly. It's unbelievable. Again, he's the president of the United States. You can't become the president if you're not a professional liar. It doesn't work that way. This is truly extraordinary. Hold on, let me just play you what else he says. All right.
To change the light type of lighting, we paid directly to the contractor, did not go through the government. And violence because of gang violence. It's because of a whole range of things that when I was vice president had the same obligation to deal with unaccompanied children. I was able to get it slowed up significantly by working with the heads of state of those communities to do things like in one of the major cities, the reason people were leaving is they couldn't walk the street because their kids were getting beat up or shot or gang violence.
Okay, yeah, you know what else I remember, Joe, from when you were vice president? I remember that you and Obama, you deported around 3 million Hispanics and Latinos. You deported them out of the United States. Right? Obama, the deporter in chief. Because this is what's interesting about Joe Biden. You know, he loves bragging and blowing smoke up his own ass about things that he accomplished allegedly as vice president. But he never takes responsibility for the shit that took place when he was vice president. And it's sort of a weird double standard there. I mean, if you're telling me that you were able to do things as vice president, right? That you have responsibility in that role, and you took good care of that role, and you fulfilled your obligation in your oath to office. Well, then you also have to own the shit that took place when you were vice president, and he never does he? Right? He's always blaming other people. So that's weird that he doesn't mention how many millions that were deported when he was vice president, right? And not to mention the Muslim ban. Again, I think. To this day, a lot of people don't understand this so-called Muslim ban that Trump wrote up. He was building on top of what Biden and Obama did. Okay, just so we're clear, right? So that was an extension of what they did. That's not Trump didn't come up with that out of nowhere. Okay, and again, as with everything, what Biden is doing now. Right? He's not even just going back to how it was when he was vice president, as he loves to brag about. Sure, he did with that, but he's not removing the initial law. And with everything else, he's keeping what Trump did in regards to Iran. They still haven't entered JCPOA, Abraham Accords, bombing Syria, staying in Afghanistan. Actually, that's even worse than Trump, which we'll get to in a second. And he's just taking a lot of the shit that Trump did and running with it because they know that they can get away with it. So, and another thing that he says, right? Pay attention to this one because he says that he's been so good to children when he was vice president. Okay. Yeah, here we go.
A bipartisan plan of over $700 million to do with the root causes of why people are leaving. What did Trump do? He eliminated that funding. He didn't use it. He didn't do it. And in addition to that, what he did, he dismantled all the elements that exist to deal with what had been a problem and has been continued to be a problem for a long time. He, in fact, shut down the number.
You'll excuse me. I'll have to fast forward to the very point that I wanted to play. I think it was over here, right? 49. Okay.
In place, what was dismantled, as I said. For example, of all the children who are coming across the border, over 70% are either 16 or 17 years old. We're not talking about people ripping babies from mother's arms or little 3-year-olds standing on the border. Less than, I think it's 1.5%. fall in the category of the very young. So what we're doing is we're providing for the space again to...
No. You see how he's trying to deflect? Do you see how he's trying to deflect? He's trying to make it about the age now. Dude, I don't care if they're 3 or 30 or 70 years old. Look at those pictures. We looked at those pictures. No one should be in those conditions. Do you understand? What are you doing putting people in office containers? Huh? They say that, look, because of COVID, they can't let the journalists in to take photographs, which is such bullshit. Look, man, I have a solution. Let me fly in a drone. Is that okay for you? A drone is not going to get sick. We can, you know, disinfect, wipe them down, and just fly in a drone and take the pictures. Is that okay for you? So they're making this excuse that, oh, we can't let the journalists in. No, you can't go inside. You can't go in. It's COVID. And then at the same time, they're putting all of these people cramped together. And the infection rates are much higher in there. So you're going to tell me now that because they're not 3 years old and it's not about babies being yanked from their mother's arms, that now the conditions are okay? No, the conditions are not okay, regardless what the age of the detainees happens to be. Okay, again, whether they're 3 or 30 or 16 or 17, what are you doing? Right? I don't understand this. If you have nothing to hide, you would let reporters in. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. I don't understand how, again, he's going to do this here. And this is, you'll hear this all the time, that, oh, look, China's locking up all these Uyghur Muslims. Again, I have no clue why the U.S. suddenly cares about Muslims. They spend half their time killing them. And so, you know, they're putting them in these camps. Okay, so if you care about human rights so much, what is this? We saw those pictures. Do I need to pull them up again? I think I should, because you know, that was horrendous. So, you know, they're also reopening the very same facilities that Trump was using, like the one in Carrizo, Texas, right? I mean, this is horrible. Just give me a second so I can pull this up for you. Okay. So my point here again is that this is not about the age. He's trying to deflect because he's caught. He's been caught. That is horrible. People on the floor sleeping with these aluminum blankets. I know Americans say aluminum. What is that? Like, this looks just like under Trump. They just replaced the fences, right? They just replaced the fences with plastic sheets. And honestly, it looks like it's even, honestly, for airflow, isn't that probably worse? That's probably worse. And if you're telling me that because of a pandemic, you can't let journalists in, how is restricting airflow doing any good for infection rates? Again, I'm not a doctor, but I would assume that that's not very good, right? One of the first breakthroughs in medicine was realizing, oh shit, when we're operating or when we're in a hospital, we should open the fucking windows because we can let some air in, right? Get rid of the germs. No. It's COVID when it suits them, and it's now he's trying to say it's about the age. Oh my god. So just to show you some other softballs, I'm looking through my notes, right? Because there's a lot of things here. Just to show you some of the other softballs that they were throwing him. So you saw the first one about, they're coming because you're such a decent man, right? All of these people, they're coming to the United States because Joe Biden is a decent man. And another moment that was absolutely hilarious, where again they're trying to like portray him as better than Trump. Take a look at this.
Outside this White House, I'm not talking about the elected officials. I'm talking about voters. And so I'm convinced that we'll be able to stop this, because it is the most pernicious thing. This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle. I mean, this is gigantic, what they're trying to do. And it cannot be sustained. And do everything in my power, along with my friends in the House.
Okay, I have to fast forward a bit because he's answering the previous question. Here we are.
Bipartisanship. Your old friend, Mitch McConnell, says you have only spoken to each other once since you took office, and that you have moved far left since taking office. Do you see it the same way he does? Have you rejected bipartisanship?
No, I haven't at all. I've been meeting. When's the last time a president invited the opposite party down at least a half a dozen?
Far left. I mean, This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. You know what far left is in the United States? Center right. That's what far left means. What an what is that? What kind of fucked up political spectrum are you using? God almighty. It was horrible the entire time. And by the way, not just here, the ones that were present at the conference, also on Twitter, they were, oh my God, he's doing so good. Biden is knocking it out of the park, some guy and NBC was saying, right? This is, I mean, I really want you to understand how not just the Biden administration, but the journalists are giving him softball questions. And, you know, they're sort of pressing him like, you know, are you going to give us access to the facility? Do you know when that is? Okay. And then they just drop it. They're not really asking him tough questions, right? Do you sense the same energy as when Trump was in the room? Be honest. Be honest. They were very confrontational, right, with Trump. Okay, so like, can we have that now? Because they're doing the same shit. They're doing the same thing. They're putting thousands of refugees that are fleeing imperialist policies, and they're locking them up in these appalling conditions. It's the same shit, right? And saying that the age is different does not make it okay. You're not even letting journalists in. Even Trump let fucking journalists in, right? I think at first he tried to stop it, and then at one point he cracked, and you know, he let him in, and then, well, you saw what happened. It became a phrase: kids in cages. So he knows that what he's doing is wrong, and the media are helping him. Again, not all of them, right? John Moore, for example, that photojournalist who wrote that article in the Washington Post, I felt that was good, right? He was pointing out how every administration has let him go in and photograph, and that this time he had to go to the other side of the border. He had to take photographs of the United States from Mexico, right? So there is some pushback, but it's nowhere near as good as Trump, right? When Trump was in power, they're saying he's a fascist. He's literally Hitler 2.0. Well, if they're behaving the same and you're using different language now to describe him, it's a bit weird, right? Bit odd. So we're not done. We're not done. We have a few more things to cover from this. I just want to read a couple of your super chats very quickly, right? I thank you very much for your support. Okay. So we got one over here from Pepper Rants. Says, I'm seriously embarrassed to have this guy be my president. He's no better than Trump. He just pretends to be otherwise. Both garbage, both warmongers. Yes, but I think you're being a little unfair, because now that Biden is president, we have unity. So, you know, that makes everything okay, right? Just give them some arts and crafts in the cages, and everything will be fine, right? Now it's blue fascist. God, they love overusing these words, right? Like, yeah, Trump is a shithead, but you know, they just they overuse these words until they have no meaning anymore, and it's insulting to you know, actual victims of fascism and Nazism, and you know, I think it's disgusting. So we have a tip also on Rockfin. Thank you so much, Mona, for watching on Rockfin, tipping on Rockfin. Thank you to everyone who is watching on Rockfin. Again, if you have not signed up, it's free. Okay. You're going to find not just me, but all your other favorite lefty YouTubers. We're all on there, and we're streaming simultaneously on both, and there's no censorship bullshit. So Mona says, Richie Miguel H in the chat said, immunity. That's amazing. I love it. Biden is such a fuckface. Does he really buy his own shit lies? Biden is a good guy? I think he's actually sincerely forgotten that he is a shithead. Yeah, probably. I think he has too. And speaking of forgetfulness, I'm going to go to something else in a second. That was good. We got another tip over here from Sabi. He says, Biden being in the Senate for over a century. That's exactly what I was talking about. The comment had me rolling. Was that sarcasm, or is he that demented that he doesn't know how old he is? It didn't seem like a joke. This was a disaster for Biden. They'll hide him more after this. So I will play that clip in a second. And, you know, let me just play it for you, right? Let me just play it for you, because I'm also curious to get your opinion on the matter. So I caught that immediately and I posted it. And All right, hold on. Here it is. Go buffering. Okay. So again, there's a moment here where Biden, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this was one of his stutters again or not. And I'm curious what you guys think of it. Let me play it for you. Okay, so I caught this when he was giving his press conference earlier.
So filibuster. You know, with regard to the filibuster, I believe we should go back to a position of the filibuster that existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago.
What? When did you come to the Senate? He did not just say 120 years ago. I'll play it again.
With regard to the filibuster, I believe we should go back to a position of the filibuster that existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago. And that is that it used to be required.
Look, man, honestly, I don't know if he's making a joke or not. Like, I understand what he means. Like, he's saying, I'm a dinosaur. I've been here so long. Okay, I can understand that. But I think it's problematic that we don't know if he's joking or not. Hey, look, man, can I be very, very honest with you? Even for this shithead, I feel kind of bad if he's actually having health problems. Yes, I know he bombs my country. You know, he destroys my country, other people's countries. Nonetheless, you know, I think it's elder abuse what they're doing, and I don't like ableism. I don't think that's okay. So, you know, we're not trying to make fun of whatever health issues he has. I don't, you know. Okay, sometimes the shit he says is absurd. It's funny, but like I think this might have been a joke. I think this might have been a joke. But nonetheless, the point here, what he's talking about, the filibuster, right? It's very interesting because his point now is that he's not going to do anything about it, right? And what did you hear the entire time? What do you always hear from the Democrats? Is that, oh no, we can't do anything because of the filibuster, right? Mitch McConnell, he's blocking it, and the filibuster, which, you know, it's a card you can play essentially to just block bringing up a vote, right? You can just waste time essentially and stop a vote from being brought to the floor. And, you know, they're asking, well, do you know if you can do it with 50 votes, 51 votes to repeal the filibuster? And then he's going on and saying, oh, well, I don't know if, you know, if the Senate parliamentarian would approve, you know, the infamous Senate parliamentarian again, who said no $15 minimum wage. And Biden just, like a little good doggy, said, okay, ma'am, and then did nothing, even though she has no legal authority. So, you know, I just think it's really telling, because every time they can't pass legislation, they say, oh, look, it's the Republicans and it's the filibuster. We can't do anything. And then when he's asked, well, you know, do you want to get rid of it? And he's saying, no, we should work with it. We should work around it. Right? He's not even saying, yeah, we should flat out get rid of it. He's not even just like lying like he did with the $15 minimum wage. I'm going to give you $15 minimum wage. No, he's just saying, yeah, I don't know if we should repeal it. We should just try and work around it and within the motherfucker. Yo. Again, this is further proof that they are all working together, right? I mean, it's I know most of you know this already. It's kind of obvious, right? It's just they come up with a million excuses under the sun to not give you what you are owed as citizens of the country. You know, people who voted for him, who got scammed by him now, essentially. They're a bunch of liars, right? And it just shows you once again how they're working with the Republicans, right? It's unbelievable. And there's some more comments over here that I saved about the filibuster. Give me a second. Was this the same one? Hold on, let me play it.
Get a parliamentary ruling that allows.
There we go. That's about the parliamentary ruling. Okay, let's check it out. God, I hate that transition.
Ms. Kim.
Thank you, Mr. President. To follow up on the filibuster, so do you believe it should take 60 votes to end a filibuster on legislation, or 51?
If we could end it with 51, we would have no problem.
Right. Excuse me. Earlier, I said 50 or 51. When they're saying 60, they're talking about having 51 would be a tiebreaker with Kamala Harris, but they're talking about having 60 instead of 51, right?
You're going to have to, the existing rule, it's going to be hard to get a parliamentary ruling that allows 50 votes to end the filibuster, the existence of a filibuster. It's not my expertise in what the parliamentary rules and how to get there are, but our
Motherfucker.
preoccupation with the filibuster is totally legitimate.
Motherfucker. Give me a second over here. Give me a second. Biden's entire selling point was that he's experienced, right? He's been in the Senate. He's been in Congress. He's been in government his entire life. He was the vice president. You're the fucking president now. And now he's saying, oh, it's not my expertise whether, we can actually do that. Who the fuck knows then if you don't know? Who knows? Motherfucker. You've had like every job. He keeps bragging about what he's accomplished, right? Even saying, look, I worked with segregationists. That's how fucking proud he is of his record in government, right? I can get things done, as he keeps saying. If you're the president, if you don't fucking know, who knows then? What are you doing? What were you? Oh my God. Look, man, I understand if you forgot something, but this is unacceptable. This man has been elected to the highest office in the country, in the world, arguably, unfortunately. No, this is a bullshit answer, and you all know it. I'm not blaming you guys. I'm just saying.
It's not my expertise in what the parliamentary rules and how to get there are, but our preoccupation with the filibuster is totally legitimate. But in the meantime, we got a lot we can do while we're talking about what we're going to do about the filibuster.
What was that answer? Listen to that again.
It's not my expertise in what the parliamentary rules and how to get there are, but our preoccupation with the filibuster is totally legitimate. But in the meantime, we got a lot we can do while we're talking about what we're going to do about the filibuster.
But in the meantime, we got a lot to do about what we're going to do about the filibuster. What? Verbal diarrhea is that? Just verbal diarrhea? Just more excuses why they can't get anything done, right? Unbelievable. God, I mean, people who voted for Biden, unfortunately, I don't think most of them have realized this yet, but some must definitely be feeling pretty cucked right about now, honestly. If you aren't, my condolences. Again, we got more coming. I'm not done, huh? I broke this down into chunks, so don't go anywhere. Unity. So we got some more super chats. I'm going to keep reading them in between. And thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting the show. We got over here a super chat from Christopher. Says, can't get rid of something that don't exist. What? now I'm having a Biden moment. You can't get rid of something that don't exist. Check. I'm assuming you sent this a few minutes ago, and I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought. You must be referring to something else that he said, or I'm having a complete brain fart right now. But I thank you for the note, and hopefully someone cleared that up in the comments just a second. Pepper Rant says voters know that there are three things blues and reds are cool with passing: cuts to education. I know it's coming next. Corporate handouts and the war. Cuts to education and healthcare, and anything to limit civilian rights. Okay, but you forgot war. Okay, that we got to do that, man. That's a given. Tristan says President Joe Adderall won't last the first year. Oh, help us, Lord. I mean, look, man. Again, I don't think that. I mean, look, if you were any other elderly man, I would never even think about poking fun about him. And I just told you, I still feel kind of bad about that, right? We all have elderly relatives, older relatives. It's not nice or anyone's fault. But I mean, I think it's concerning that they pushed this guy, they forced him onto you when you had someone like Bernie Sanders, right? You remember how they kept whining Bernie Sanders is older than Biden by like a year? And I mean, Bernie Sanders, I have a lot of issues with his foreign policy, but at least he's there. And, you talk about being competent. They kept telling you Trump is too incompetent for the job. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree. But, the guy can barely lie. Not barely speak, he can barely lie. And that's concerning for Joe Biden. That's a big fucking issue. So anyway, let me move over here. We got another tip from Kathy. Thank you so much, Kathy, for tipping, especially on Rockfin. Thank you for everyone who's watching on Rockfin. And Javi says, I worked in memory care for about 5 years. He has all the signs of dementia. He needs a doctor. I don't think he was joking. Yeah, I mean, again, man, it's heartbreaking. You know, dementia is heartbreaking. I would not wish that on anyone. It's heartbreaking seeing that. But, you know, I think I speak for all of us. That's not our issue with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a piece of shit. He's a war criminal. He's a neoliberal bastard. That's the real issue here. But yeah, again, it's concerning that, you know, he's showing all the signs and they insist on thrusting him upon the planet, not just, you know, Americans. So let's continue, right? Let's continue into the other things that he said. So let me just find my place over here. Okay. By the way, how you like in the background? I got rid of a lot of the glare, right? So there's no more light bouncing off of some of the posters. I think it's even and looking okay. You got a little spots. Hold on, over here, like that's a little bit of light, but I think it's okay most of all. Alhamdulillah, we're doing all right. So Joe Biden, he's asked during his press conference about Afghanistan. Okay, let me play you the clip and then we'll discuss.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about Afghanistan. You face a May 1st deadline for the withdrawal of U.S. troops from that country. As a candidate in foreign affairs, you wrote that it is past time to end these forever wars. Can you commit to the American people that by May 2nd, the U.S. will no longer have forces in Afghanistan?
The answer is that it's going to be hard to meet the May 1 deadline. Just in terms of tactical reasons, it's hard to get those troops out. So what we've been doing, what I've been doing, and what Secretary Blinken has been doing, we've been meeting with our allies, those other nations that have NATO allies who have troops in Afghanistan as well. And if we leave, we're going to do so in a safe and orderly way. We're in consultation, I said, with our allies and partners and how to proceed. And Secretary Blinken is meeting in Brussels this week with our NATO allies, particularly those who have forces there. And General Austin is just met with Kayani, and I'm waiting for the briefing on that. He is the leader, quote, in Afghanistan and Kabul. And there's a UN-led process that's beginning shortly on how to mechanically get people, how to end this war. But it is not my intention to stay there for a long time. But the question is, how and in what circumstances do we meet that agreement that was made by President Trump to leave under a deal that looks like it's not being able to be worked out to begin with? How's that done? But we are not staying a long time.
You just said if we leave. Do you think it's possible that
we will leave? The question is when we leave.
Do you believe, though, it's possible we could have troops there next year?
I can't picture that being the case. Okay.
I mean, you heard that abomination of an answer, right? He just told you that he's not leaving. Okay, I'm translating it for you. He's not leaving Afghanistan. I mean, what Donald Trump did, if you remember, he started withdrawing a bunch of troops from Afghanistan, right? I think they were how many were they? Around 15,000, if I'm not mistaken. And now they're 2,500, right? And the agreement that they made with the Taliban was that they were going to leave in May. Now, what the Biden administration is doing is they're saying, oh no, Because one of the conditions for them to leave was that, attacks on U.S. troops and any sort of cooperation with Al-Qaeda and, insurgent groups, this has to stop. And so now the Biden administration are saying, well, look, these attacks did not stop. We're still under fire. And so we can't leave because, the situation, it's for tactical reasons. Motherfucker, you're illegally occupying their country. Of course you're under attack. It's not your country. People want you to get the fuck out. If someone broke into your house, what would you do? Especially Americans. What's the first thing to do? They blast you. They blast you away. And you got your whole army over there. And not just them, again. It's the British, the Australians, right? I've covered their war crimes. And, I mean, what kind of a reasoning is that? Like, unit agreement? Imagine just people breaking into your house and killing your family and stealing your food and your supplies, and then they stay there for 20 fucking years, and then they're like, oh no, well, I don't feel like you're holding up your end of the bargain, so I can't leave just yet. Sorry. That is how absurd he sounds, and even worse. And it's not just him. Every one of these pieces of shit has been doing that. All of them, right? Since Bush invaded in 2001. They've all been doing it. Obama, Trump, now him. And the irony of it, because you heard the question was, you wrote in Foreign Affairs about, the endless wars. Yeah, he helped start them. He helped start them, man. They're never leaving Afghanistan, right? Because the AUMF, the Authorization for Use of Military Force of 2001, right? This is their template for the war on terror. It doesn't even say Al-Qaeda in there. It doesn't even say Taliban. It doesn't even specify a country. It doesn't even say Afghanistan. It says that Congress is giving the president the authorization to use military force against anyone who participated in the 9/11 attacks or aided and abetted. And, it's extremely ambiguous, and it's a blanket justification that they've been using as a carte blanche, as a blank check to just go everywhere, right? That's why they went into 19 countries with the report that came out at Congress. 19 countries they've conducted operations in because of this AUMF. 19 countries, right? They go into Libya, Somalia, Yemen, Syria, and they just say, oh, look, AUMF, we can do that. And once again, outside of the borders of the United States, the AUMF is a piece of toilet paper. You know why? Because it's not international law. It doesn't mean shit. When you go and invade another country and you try to replace their government, that's a crime of aggression. It's a war of aggression. So it's a crime, one of the 4 crimes under the International Criminal Court, right? And so, which of course the United States has never ratified. So, although to be fair, Russia left it too, which I think is bullshit. I don't think that's acceptable. So, they've been escaping accountability for this, and my point is, just go back to my original point, because you need to understand the background here. They're never going to leave, and they're never going to let go of that AUMF, because it's their blank check to get away with murder, literal fucking murder. Okay? And the irony of him bringing up Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense. The guy worked for Raytheon until a few weeks ago. The day that he got the job, he left his position at Raytheon. He has a fucking incentive to sell arms and go to war. What are you doing? That's like hiring an arsonist at a fire department. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? You think that guy's going to strive for peace? And they just swallowed this fucking horseshit. It's driving me nuts. This is not a press corps. Okay, this is not a press corps. These people are fucking lapdogs. They are slime. They are propagandists. They are war criminal scum. They are the mouthpiece of the Pentagon. Okay, that's who they are. This softball question bullshit, that's not going to fly. This is not a fourth estate. Okay, if you pretend or you proclaim to take democracy seriously, and you must surely believe in the freedom of press and in the institution, in having a fourth estate, what is this? What is this? Yeah, I understand a little bit of slobbering. Not this shit. This is full on, what does Jimmy Dore say? A tongue bath? That's what it is, right? I understand. Oh my God, it's the first press conference. Hello, Mr. President. No. You're not there to kiss his ass. This is bullshit, right? And again, look, I don't want to blame the guy who asked the question. I'm glad he brought it up, right? I'm glad he brought it up, as he should. But my point is that he should push back on the answers that Biden gave, right? He should have said, we've been there 20 fucking years. Why can't we just leave tomorrow? Didn't Lloyd Austin work for Raytheon? Don't they make money off of the war? Isn't that a conflict of interest? You'll never hear these questions, ever. So how are they holding him accountable? They're not. They're giving him softballs, and I mean it's pathetic, right? So I'm astonished that that he could be worse than Trump, right? Again, I'm not really I'm conflicted about this idea that some people have that, you know, Trump was he was, you know, secretly going to stand up to the deep state, and, you know, he was going to really show them by pardoning Julian Assange, which he didn't do. And, you know, some people say that, okay, well, the fact that he was withdrawing troops from Afghanistan is a sign of that. I don't know, but, you know, is it a good thing that he signed an agreement to fuck off on May 1st? Yeah, it is. But at the same time, why did he schedule it for when he's no longer in power? This is once again a trick that they use to shirk responsibility, to make sure that the wars continue. Because he knows the next guy, he knows that if Biden wins, he's going to keep the war going, right? He knows that. And so he draws down the number of troops to make himself look good. And yeah, that's an objectively good thing, right? But still, 2,500 troops, that's 2,500 troops too many. That is not your country. You have no business there. You are illegally occupying it. And when I say you, I mean also the British and the Australians and their whole coalition. They have no business in that country. Fucking zero. Okay? None whatsoever. I don't care if it's one troop. Could you imagine one Afghan troop walking around in New York with a fucking machine gun? Do you think they would tolerate that shit for 1 second? You would have 15,000 helicopters and the army swooping down on him. One fucking man. Never mind an army. So how do you allow yourself to behave that way to others? This is bullshit. And, you know, all these people thought, oh, he's going to be different. He's going to be better. You are such fucking tools. I warned you about this. I told you this shit. How many fucking times have I sat here and told you this guy is a warmonger? He's going to bomb my country. He's going to keep troops in Afghanistan. He's going to keep all the wars going. And he's going to fuck you too, because you're the ones being sent to die there. You're the ones who are not getting health care because he's spending all the money on this shit, right? When you have a government preoccupied with war, with jerking each other off, you know, making profits for their fucking buddies in the private sector, yeah, of course they're never going to tend to you because they're not your government. They're gangsters. They're running a racket. They're taking you for suckers. Who buys this? Who buys this shit? Who thinks that for, you know, Afghans should live one fucking more hour under occupation? Never mind a fucking month or years or 20 goddamn years. 1 hour. How dare you? It's not your fucking country, you asshole. So that was about it for Afghanistan. That's it. That little 2-minute clip. Right? The longest war in US history, and a new president gets in, one of the architects of this whole system, right? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That's what they did on the longest war in US history. And you have to keep in mind how long the Afghans have been suffering. Because before that, they had the Soviets that invaded them, 79 to 89, right? And then you had all these mujahideen who then started forming Al-Qaeda and turning the place upside down. And, you know, if you go and look at what happened just after 9/11, the Taliban, they were willing to negotiate, right? U.S. did not care. It was a pre-drawn conclusion. No, you're responsible. You were harboring terrorists. We're going to come get you. And then they said the same shit about Saddam. Like, oh, Saddam Hussein is harboring Al Qaeda. We're going to come get him for that, and he has weapons of mass destruction. both of those things completely absurd. Who created Al Qaeda? You fucking created Al Qaeda. Now you've been invading and occupying 19 other countries for a problem that you created. Why don't you go and invade fucking Langley then and deal with it really? It's a racket. It's a racket. That's all it is. It's a racket. They're making money. That's it. It's a cash cow. And who pays for that? The Afghan people, right? And of course, all the others who have been a victim of the war on terror. And even everyday Americans, because as I told you, no healthcare, they give you a little Purple Heart after you lost both your fucking legs, patrolling some place that you have no business being in. This is absurd, right? And I think it's so astounding that Biden has managed to find, the bar was so low with Trump, and he manages to lower it even more. Unbelievable. How on God's earth do you make Trump look more like a pacifist than you? That's fucking Trump. Trump bombed Syria. Trump killed General Soleimani. Trump aided and, he continued the same policies for the military-industrial complex. And you still managed to go even worse? Yeah. After all, are we surprised? It's Joe Biden. He got you Trump in the first place. Oh, they're such scum. War pigs. So, again, we're not done. There's a lot more coming, man. There's a lot more coming in this press conference, so-called press conference. So, give me 1 second. I just want to read your super chats, if you will. We got one over here from Pepper Rance. Thank you, Pepper, for all your support. It says, "Don't worry, Richie, you look pretty, butterfly." Or I'm assuming that's pretty fly, maybe. And you're right, war is definitely and always has been a thing for both sides. Yes. Pookie says, "Habib, you're forgetting the private contractors are there." Oh, absolutely. You're right. We've talked, of course, about Silvercore, Blackwater, and this is an important thing that people need to realize. Which I think this is so incredible because even within the racket, they've managed to find another racket. So instead of feeding and lining the pockets of Raytheon and Boeing and Northrop and all these weapons manufacturers, what they've done since the war on terror, especially starting with Bush, they ramped it up even further. They started using private contractors, right? They started outsourcing the military. And so you look at Abu Ghraib, for example, in Iraq, and a lot of the people who were involved in that torture were contractors, right? And it serves two purposes. Number one, they're making tons of money, right? So you have the government giving these lucrative deals to private corporations who they're friends with to charge you, the taxpayer, 10 times or 8 times or 5 times what a conventional soldier in the Marines, for example, or the Rangers could have done, the exact same job. But because it's a private corporation, they're going to overcharge you. They're ripping you off to do the same thing. And on top of that, they can't be court-martialed because they're not enlisted. Right? They're not military personnel. They're not serving. I love that verb, serving. It's not serving. You're serving Raytheon. They're not enlisted personnel. So you can't court-martial them. You can't try them in a military court or tribunal. At best, maybe you can have a criminal case in a regular a civilian court, and even then, nothing happens. They get off scot-free. I mean, just look at what happened to those 4 assholes from Blackwater who committed the Nisour Square massacre in Iraq. Trump literally pardoned them 2 months ago. So you can commit a fucking bloodbath in broad daylight. A bloodbath. I mean, could you just imagine 4 Iraqis shooting up Times Square? And not just like shooting up, I mean with fucking armored vehicles. Shooting up Times Square. Like, how is that acceptable? How is that acceptable? How do we allow this shit to just, just go unpunished and we go on like nothing happened? And actually, I'm not saying that Nisour Square is comparable to the size of Times Square. It's a public place. You got traffic, you got people going to work, you got people commuting. I don't care where it was. I don't care if it was a village. These people committed a bloodbath. They killed dozens and injured dozens. And they were pardoned by the president of the United States, by Trump. Where's the fucking impeachment for that, right? Where's the consequences for that? So again, thank you for bringing up that point. And the thing is that if you withdraw the troops, does that include the contractors? Are they included in those figures? What's going on here, right? Are we talking about the CIA? They sure as hell ain't being withdrawn. Oh, the CIA stay. As a matter of fact, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I recall, the beginning of the Afghanistan war, the first couple of months, that was mostly CIA doing the fighting, right? I could be wrong though, but anyway, it's all a racket, man. It doesn't change anything, right? So Vito, thank you for your super chat. Says Farid Zakaria just dropped the truth bomb that the U.S. military budget is bloated to fight China. Bet he's gonna get the boot out of CNN. Oh, he did a naughty. That's very good. Honestly, I can see where he's coming from, but what I would say, and I think both of these things can be true at the same time, is that they will try to bloat it as much as they can, right? If they can get away with it, they'll just fucking do it. And you're seeing that with Biden, not just with the foreign policy, with the domestic policy, but it's he's building on what Trump did. So Trump, indeed, he expanded it. What is it, 740 billion now? And, Biden is under no pressure to lower that budget. Biden is under no pressure to change anything, right? Now it's brunch. It's brunch and lunchtime. Go have your nap. Go to sleep. Biden's not going to do shit. He's continuing everything that Trump did. Right? It's astounding. It's astounding. So again, we got a couple more things to cover. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let's go. So you'll give me 1 second to find my bearings. God, I can't believe how he was bragging about sending people back. We're sending them back. We're sending them back. Holy, what the fuck? And in the same breath, he talks about how his own father or grandfather, I can't remember, but his own relatives came to the United States as immigrants in harsh conditions. Okay, so why aren't you letting other ones in? You're the fucking president now. You don't think you should kind of, pay it forward or continue that tradition? And, you keep telling us about how great America is. It's unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. So, Now we're going to move on to China. China. Oh boy, this was a long answer, so I think I'll have to skip a bit of it and get to the meat. He gave like a 6-minute long answer about how he used to sit down with his interpreter and talk to G. So, okay, I'll play you the question and I'll try to skip ahead, right? So Biden was asked about China. Here's the question, and the answer is long, so I'll be skipping ahead a bit after when he starts answering it to the main things that he says. Let's go.
For a couple months, there's obviously the meeting in Alaska that was a little theatrical, and there's the continued human rights abuses. So today, I'm wondering, are you more likely than you were when you came into office to maintain tariffs on China? Are you considering banning imports of forced labor products? And would you consider cutting off U.S. investment or Chinese access to international payment systems?
Well, look, they're each specifically legitimate questions, but they only touch a smidgen of what the relationship with China really is about. I've known Xi Jinping for a long time. Allegedly, by the time I left office as vice president, I had spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader had, because President Obama and the Chinese President Hu, earlier this month, and apparently it got the Chinese attention, that's not why I did it, I met with our allies and how we're going to hold China accountable in the region. Australia, India, Japan, and the United States, the so-called Quad. Because we have to have democracies working together. Before too long, I'm going to invite an alliance of democracies to come here to discuss the future. And so we're going to make it clear that in order to deal with these things, we are going to hold China accountable to follow the rules. to follow the rules, whether it relates to the South China Sea or the North China Sea or the agreement made on Taiwan or a whole range of other things. And the third thing, and the thing that I admire about dealing with Xi is he understands, he makes no pretense about not understanding what I'm saying any more than I do him. I pointed out to him, no leader can be sustained in his position or her position unless they represent the values of the country. And I said, Mr. President, as I've told you before, Americans value the notion of freedom. America values human rights. We don't always live up to our expectations, but it's a value system. We are founded on that principle. And as long as you and your country continues to so blatantly violate human rights, we are going to continue in an unrelenting way to call to the attention of the world and make it clear what's happening. And he understood that. I made it clear that no American president, at least one did, but no American president ever backed down from speaking out of what's happening in the Uyghurs, what's happening in Hong Kong, what's happening in country. That's who we are. The moment a president walks away from that, as the last one did, is the moment we begin to lose our legitimacy around the world. It's who we are. So I see stiff competition with China. China has an overall goal, and I don't criticize them for the goal, but they have an overall goal to become the leading country in the world, the wealthiest country in the world, and the most powerful country in the world. That's not going to happen on my watch, because the United States is going to continue to grow and expand.
All right, just to follow up on the meeting of democracies, is that where you...
Oh, well, that was great, huh? I'm really, I'm looking forward to the Quad. You've heard of the Squad, now get ready for the Quad, right? He brings up Australia. Unfortunately for Australia, they've become sort of a vassal state of the U.S. on many fronts, right? Julian Assange, the fact that they've been pussy whipped into letting one of their own citizens, face 2 centuries in jail potentially, and they've said nothing. This is all because of the U.S. pressuring them, right? And again, China is another one, right? So you have lots of tensions between Australia and China, and the U.S. is, of course, behind a lot of that because they want to make Australia sort of a buffer and a thorn in China's side, as they usually do with their adversaries, right? That's just how they do with imperialism. And so, just going back to what Biden said, wow, it's really insane that he is lecturing someone about human rights, right? And did you pay attention to the way that he said it? He framed it in a way as if the president of China is a schoolboy, and he taught him a lesson. Like, I sat down with him and, I told him about human rights and, he understood what I said. What? Is he your child? Like, what do you think that he's threatened by you? This is absurd, man. This is absurd. If anything, I'm pretty sure China is they're laughing at the United States. Genuinely, they're actually they started making souvenirs about it. And but the thing is that he says, I don't criticize them for the goal of wanting to excel and overtake us and with their economy, with their technological investments. He talks a lot about R&D, right? Investing in AI, et cetera. And that's very generous of you. You constantly talk about prosperity and cooperation, and he's just openly saying at the same time that no, it's going to be competition, and we're also going to put human rights in the mix, right? So watch out for that, because it's no accident that they're mentioning the two, right? So he's trying to say, like, look, man, we like fair competition, we're going to be good sports about it, but we're not going to let them get away with all that human rights shit, are we? We can't have that. And you heard the premise of the question was like, they're starting off, the journalists themselves are they're starting off from a point that promotes that that promotes violence, that promotes that is adversarial, and they're a bunch of chicken hawks, right? They're saying, aren't you going to put sanctions on China? Yeah, aren't you going to stop them from being able to make international payments? Basically, you're going to block not just their trade, also with the tariffs, and you're going to block investments, but also bar them from participating in the global financial system. Aren't you going to fuck with their shit? This guy is Trump. Biden is doing exactly what Trump did, right? So if you look at, hold on, let me pull this up for you. Okay. This is from CNN. It's from 10 hours ago. Take a look. So the headline reads, Biden has left Trump's China tariffs in place. Here's why. I love that shit. Do you know, every time they try to justify one of their own acting like shit, they always say, here's why. Like they're going to come and school you now about why this behavior is now acceptable, even though they railed about it under Trump, right? So the fact that he's going to screw over farmers, and basically, I mean, the American consumer is the one who's going to pay the higher tariffs. It's not China. No, it's okay now because Biden is doing it. Do you see once again how he's continuing literally every fucking thing that Trump did? It's staggering. Prosecuting Assange. He wants to keep this trade war going with China, right? He wants to keep accusing them of violating human rights and portraying them as some kind of backwards nation. And in the same breath, oh, look, we're so civilized, right? Mr. Joe Biden, who started the Iraq war, who's complicit in the death of 1 million Iraqis. Oh, look, I'm so civilized. I care about human rights, right? And he's continuing the occupation of Afghanistan, which is even worse than Trump. Again, I don't know if Trump was being 100% genuine, but at least there was a plan to withdraw by 1st of May. Biden's not doing that now. He's saying we're going to stay, right? He keeps the embassy in Jerusalem, right? He continues to recognize the occupied Syrian Golan Heights as Israeli when they're not. He bombs Syria. He's still being antagonistic with Iran. He won't re-enter the JCPOA. He hasn't given you $15 minimum wage, right? He lied about the checks. He lies every goddamn day, and everyone is covering for him. The media is covering for him. How is he different from Trump? Please explain this to me. The only thing that is different is the decorum, the discourse, right? He's just sugarcoating it, and not even really. The kids are in cages, right? They're in mobile containers, right? Sponsored by Mobile View. I wonder what their contracts look like. And they removed the fences, but they're still keeping the kids sleeping on the floor, the people sleeping on the floor in these aluminum foil sheets, right? They won't let journalists in. You remember how they used to say Trump is so antagonistic with the press? Oh my God, he hates the freedom of the press. He's attacking the very foundations of our democracy. He doesn't respect journalists. And now Biden is doing the same shit, right? Even worse, because Trump ended up actually letting journalists in. Biden won't even tell you when that's going to happen, if that's going to happen. Where is he different than Trump? There's nothing. Fucking zero. It's blue MAGA. This is blue MAGA. And they're going to let him get away with the shit. They gave him softball questions because it's Biden, right? The only difference with Trump is that Trump took off the mask, right? He was just being honest. Trump is out. Biden takes his place. Biden puts on the mask. Oh, look, I'm very nice. I'm very friendly, but I'm going to keep doing the same shit as Trump. We're just going to call it differently now. Fucking unreal. And so, this warmonger, this chicken hawk bullshit that's coming from these journalists where they're like, oh, yeah, aren't you going to put sanctions on China? Like, as if that's a given, right? As if that's a given. Just, you're the president. Like, that's the first thing you should do. Just fuck with China, right? Quick. And then, of course, they also started asking him about Korea, right? They started asking him about Korea, and I mean, they're starting shit with Korea, right? Do you remember that's like one of the only silver linings? I mean, and there are very few of them. One of the only things that you could maybe argue that Trump did good was that he engaged in diplomacy with North Korea, and as opposed to adding fuel to the fire. Yes? Right? And now he's trying to destroy that. He's trying to destroy that. Unbelievable. And once again, I go back to my point yesterday about how cancerous the media is, because it's one thing if you have an asshole in power and an entire government of corrupt people, but it's a very different and much more problematic issue when you have an entire press corps, right, that is dedicated to insulating them, that is giving them softball questions. This is very bad, and not just softball questions, but also, you know, helping them promote war and sanctions and economic siege warfare. I mean, this is disgusting, man. This is disgusting, and I find it extraordinary how he's still trying to preach American exceptionalism, right? So he's talking about how, oh yeah, I know Xi Jinping very well, and, you know, we sat down, we've talked for hours, and you know, he's an autocrat, just like Putin, and but he's very smart. Can you imagine if actually not imagine, this happened, right? Do you remember when Trump would say something nice about Putin, how the press would go, they would lose their shit, they would go bananas, right? They're throwing feces on the wall like fucking chimpanzees. Do you remember that? Oh my God, Donald Trump, he praised Putin. He said something nice. He said something that deviated from our State Department talking points. You remember that? So hold on a second. If China's so evil, right, and you just told us that he's an autocrat, Xi Jinping, why are you praising him, saying he's a smart man? Because when Trump said that about Putin, they lost it, right? You can't say that. Illegal. Of course, either of those things are absurd. Either of those things are absurd, but it's just to show you the double standard again, right? And you'll forgive me. I have many notes down here, but I can't quite find my part about Korea. And nonetheless, I basically summed it up for you. That was basically it. It just, wow. But hey, you know what? At the end of the day, Joe Biden is a decent guy. He's a nice guy, right? He's a decent rapist. He's a decent warmonger. He's a decent corrupt bastard and agent of Wall Street. That's why people are flocking to the United States. Not because this decent bastard, right, actually helped destroy their countries, and he spent his entire life in the U.S. regime, waging war, imposing suffering on Americans, on, you know, people outside the U.S. No, right? All of these people that are coming from Central America, from Latin America, their homes were just magically ravaged. He's literally saying that. Look, it's natural disasters, and, you know, there are earthquakes and shit, and, you know, that's it. And yeah, there was like some gang violence and stuff. How did that come about? Oh, nothing, right? I can't with these people, man. And, you know, I just to go back to China, to further expand on that, I do think that the United States is, you know, they're afraid of China, right? Because, I mean, when we talk about a superpower, or in the case of the United States, a hyperpower post-Cold War, right? They're the only superpower. With a lot of decline at this point, 30 years later. But my point is that, you know, of course there are certain things where China, they don't have the same, you know, they haven't reached the same level as the United States, but they're on track, and he admits it. They're right on track to overtaking them. Biden talks about how they're out investing them in future technologies, right? China, if I recall correctly, is the largest producer of green tech, right? Batteries, solar panels, etc. And, you know, if his idea of cooperation, because I don't understand what kind of contrast he's trying to make here, is that, you know, like, oh, I'm going to be, you know, I know this guy really well, but, you know, we're still going to keep the same propaganda bullshit going. Well, you got to think what that looks like from their point of view, what the Chinese, you know, interpret that as. They're not stupid. They're they're anything but. They know exactly that Biden is going to be the same shit, right? They're planning for this. They know this. And I think it scares them. It scares them shitless, because again, I'll get to this in another segment just shortly, but the United States is slowly losing power, right? It's an empire in decline. And I mean, who knows how long that will take, but you know, they're growing more and more desperate. And this shit about human rights violations, look at yourself, man, for fuck's sake. I mean, China did not invade Afghanistan. China did not, you know, start a fucking opium trade, an opium war with the UK. China is not the one who destroyed Iraq and bombed Syria and, you know, Somalia and Libya and God knows how many other countries across the world covertly. You know, China does not have an AFRICOM, you know, or a central command or military bases, 800 military bases around the world. That's you. That's us, the UK and the US. It's disgusting. And so they're just mad at this because China lifts people out of poverty, right? You know, China invests in Africa, invests in other places, and they try to portray it as a bad thing. Like how dare you actually build infrastructure instead of bombing the shit out of it and taking it by force like we do? Holy crap. Well, you know, if you're going to critique, I think one is clearly worse than the other. If you had to pick one, I think the Chinese way is a bit better if you had to pick one, right? I think building and investing is way better than destroying and bombing and colonizing. I think any sane human being would say that, any rational person, right? And they still want to portray China as a villain. Like, look at how dare they, you know, make deals with other countries behind our backs. How dare they better people's lives? Oh, quick, look, they're violating human rights. Oh my God. And again, I find this highly amusing that every U.S. politician is now concerned all of a sudden about what's happening to Muslims when they bomb Muslims and Arabs, also, you know, Muslims or not, all the time, right? They're occupying majority Muslim countries. They don't give a shit about Muslims. They're liars. They don't give a crap about human rights. And China just, I love this. China just released a report about human rights violations, right? And they cited the U.S. as one of the worst abusers, right? That surprise you? Just look at George Floyd. Just look at George Floyd. That's one man. And that in of itself is a fucking atrocity, is an abhorrent crime. Never mind the wars, never mind the mass incarceration, right? The prison industrial complex, the lack of healthcare. We could go on and on. So you want to lecture other people about human rights? I mean, you know, tend to your own garden first. So, give me a second over here. We got another tip on Rockfin. Thank you so much to Eileen Tepper. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who's watching on Rockfin. We got about 32 people watching right now, which is great. If you have not signed up on Rockfin, again, go do it. It's free. Sometimes by accident, I put it on premium. And I mean, there are occasions where I think it makes sense to do a premium. I don't know what exactly. I haven't, you know, other channels do a lot of premium content, but I tend to put up everything for free. And the stream is for free. The videos are for free. Most of the stuff on Rockfin is for free, right? But if you do subscribe, you get everyone's premium. That includes Jimmy Dore, that includes Convo Couch, that includes Nico, that includes Lee Camp, Whitney Webb, Vanessa Beeley, you name it. So many of us are on Rockfin now because, you know, we can't rely on YouTube not playing games. And can I tell you something about how much time I had to waste today trying to figure out like the you know, title and tags to put on some stuff, because it's like they're censoring you, man. They're censoring you, right? You want to cover tragic events that took place. For example, you know, yesterday we were talking about how the mass media, they exploit shootings, and I had to like just sit there and think about what words I'm allowed to use, right? This is absurd, man. No one is glorifying anything. That's the fucking mass media. We're reporting, and they won't even let us do that, right? So we have to have all other alternatives, and not to mention other people have been demonetized. So it's very important. Rockfin.com, ROKFIN, rockfin.com/RichardMedhurst. So thank you for that. Let me continue reading your super chats. We got one over here from Florin. Says, thank you, Richie. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. And Will has sent a lovely little sticker over here. I appreciate that. Thank you. Tristan says, prosperity for the corporate war imperial misery for us. Yes, absolutely. It's on both sides, right? on both sides, domestically, internationally. They don't care. They don't care even about their own. And I've made this point before about how, I mean, it would still be wrong for obvious reasons, but it just goes to show you how fucking greedy and corrupt these people are, that, you know, they build this empire and they plunder and they kill just to make money. And the average American does not even get to partake in, benefit from that wealth. And it would still be wrong because it's stolen, obviously. But it just shows you how they don't even care about their own citizens. Like, they will shit on their own citizens. So no wonder they go and fucking bomb, 20 other countries. Right. And this is not just an American thing. The British did the same. It just, this is imperialism. It's disgusting. And it really speaks to the level of greed and corruption. But yeah, these are people with no conscience. They have no conscience whatsoever. So we got a couple of, give me 1 second. We got a couple of super chats over here on PayPal. You can send one over there if you want. This is from Donald. It says, thank you. Real reporting. I'm in the United States. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Kristen says, from the way Biden talks, it almost seems as though he had more power as vice president than he does as the actual president. Yes. Yes. What a load of bullshit. And people still buy into this. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So you kind of just perfectly summed up what I was trying to say. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we got another donation from Faja Rob, no note, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting independent media. If you guys will allow me, because we have a lot more to cover, very, very important stuff, I'm just going to quickly go to the toilet. I'll be right back. And I'm going to put up the donation thing. In the meantime, thank you for supporting independent media. All the links are here. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We are back. We are back. I'm preparing the next segment for you. Thank you all for tuning in. And let me just remind you before we continue, please like the video and comment and share it as well. I'm trying. We got to think of new ways, right? We got to think of new ways to not say the cliche YouTube phrase. So just drone strike the like button, throw a couple of shahatas at it. Do your thing. So I say this because it helps with the algorithm, right? We're always fighting this algorithm. I hate that. Anyway, so okay, let's let me get started on this. I just want. It's always good to do Bill O'Reilly mode, right? It's always good to do Bill O'Reilly mode. You know, when Bill O'Reilly goes, fuck it, we'll do it live. That's how we do, baby. That's how we do. So, okay. Let me just quit this Biden shit. Right. So, there's a new video game being released about Fallujah in Iraq, okay? And I want to show this to you. This is from IGN, right? So get your first official look at gameplay from 6 Days in Fallujah, the tactical first-person shooter based on the real-life second battle for Fallujah in the Iraq War. Wow. I mean, I don't need to show you the comments, although I will, for anyone to see how distasteful that is, to say the least. Distasteful is an understatement. I mean, some people were asking, do you get to play as the good guys, or are you forced to play as the Americans? That was a bloodbath, what happened in Fallujah, right? So there were two battles of Fallujah, if I recall well. And what they did to that city, I mean, is one of the biggest war crimes in modern history. Truly. That's not an exaggeration. And I talked to you about this the other day when I did this big video on the Iraq War. If you have not seen it, please go watch it. It's a long video. It's a long war. So, you know, it doesn't even begin to cover everything that happened. But we talked about it in there. And, I mean, you know, Fallujah, it's called the city of mosques, right? It's beautiful. It's renowned. It's famous for having so many mosques, for, you know, this skyline, if you will, of minarets. It's destroyed. It turned to rubble, turned to dust, you know, and it's not just about buildings, because that's tragic enough. That's heartbreaking enough to lose your history and your culture, which is a war crime. But on top of it, the human cost. And particularly with Fallujah, you had the Americans using white phosphorus, which is a chemical weapon, right, which is banned. And they were also using depleted uranium, right? So again, the point behind that is that when you fire RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades, or use tank shells, particularly AP, so armor-piercing rounds, the depleted uranium makes the armor-piercing rounds more effective, okay? And I don't even understand the premise of this, because, I mean, I talked to Scott Ritter the other day, right, who's a former chief weapons inspector for the UN from 1991 to 98 in Iraq, and he was also in the Marines, and he fought in the first Gulf War, and he was extremely opposed to the invasion in 2002. He knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. I mean, if anyone knows, it's him, right? His job was to get rid of them, and he goes up against Biden in the Senate. And you know, he was trying to warn people, and he told me in the interview, I'll have the full one up shortly, that, you know, when the US and the UK invaded Iraq in 2003, there was no army there. It was a paper tiger, okay? So I'm just confused why. I mean, the whole invasion is wrong to begin with, but it just goes to show you how messed up it is that they're not even meeting a real conventional armed force, and they're still using depleted uranium in the weapons because it's supposedly more effective. Effective against what? You're the United States Army. What are you exactly afraid of here that you have to use depleted uranium? Because right now to this day, you have birth defects in Fallujah because of, I don't know if this is just the depleted uranium. It's probably the white phosphorus. It's a whole mix of things. This is just what we know also, right? But this is scientifically documented that you have a higher mortality rate, infant mortality rate, and rate of birth defects in Fallujah. It's worse than Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where they drop fucking nukes. Okay? That's not me saying that. That's the science, right? And again, let's be very clear. I don't care if there was no depleted uranium in the shells. Shouldn't be there in the first place, right? Shouldn't be there in the first place. But it's just to give you an idea of how messed up, how horrific this war was and still is. Because it's not over, right? Iraq is still under occupation. Iraq has still not been rebuilt. The Iraqi people have still not recovered. And, I just want to show you this, for example, over here. Just give me 1 second, if you will. This is from The Guardian. This is from October 2012. The victims of Fallujah's health crisis are stifled by Western silence. Okay? So 4 new studies on the health crisis in Fallujah have been published in the last 3 months. Okay? Yet one of the most severe public health crises in history, for which the US military may be to blame, receives no attention in the United States. Ever since 2 major US-led assaults destroyed the Iraqi city of Fallujah in 2004, Fallujahans have witnessed dramatic increases in rates of cancers, birth defects, and infant mortality in their city. Dr. Chris Busby, the author and co-author of 2 studies on the Fallujah health crisis, has called this the highest rate of genetic damage in any population ever studied. Horrific. It's horrific. And, this is not just, it's not just about the birth defects, although there is an account on Twitter. And again, if you have a weak stomach, I apologize for the transition. I need to get rid of that one because we're not covering Biden now. But there's an account on Twitter about Fallujah defects. I think it's called F Defects, @FDefects, and they just post pictures of the babies that are born there. And it is, I could not look at more than one. I mean, again, this is evil. It's not war crimes. It's evil. What has happened to Iraq, and it's heartbreaking. And it's not just that, right? You have to understand that the war crimes that were committed there, it's way worse than that. Let me just play you this clip of Noam Chomsky. Okay, this was posted by Maria on Twitter. Let me play you this clip. He talks about Fallujah.
Of the 21st. Fallujah, first of all, was one of the worst atrocities of the 21st century. The Iraq War itself was the worst crime of the 21st century, easily. Fallujah was probably the worst war crime carried out during that war. The Marines, 7,000 Marines attacked Fallujah, probably killed everyone who was there. They called them insurgents, but whatever that means. The first day of the invasion of Fallujah, you take a look at the New York Times, had a front page photograph of Marines breaking into the General Hospital, which is a war crime, throwing all the patients on the floor and shackling them, throwing the doctors on the floor. It was hailed as a triumph. Yeah. When the high command was asked why they broke into the hospital, they had an explanation. They said it was a propaganda center for the insurgents. It was releasing casualty figures, and therefore it's legitimate to carry out a major war crime. Apparently pretty exotic weapons were used there, and there's evidence, which international agencies don't want to look at, of high levels of cancer, other effects of maybe depleted uranium, maybe something else. It's a major atrocity. But it's hailed here as a victory. The only way it is referred to now is as a tragedy, because the Marines fought so hard to liberate Fallujah, and now ISIS is in control of it. I mean, you don't know what to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. You know, once again, I've never been to Iraq. I've never been to Fallujah, and this just breaks my heart. And, you know, it's not just that. I've also posted about this on Twitter before. And there's also a massacre, one of many massacres, but this one is well documented, where you had people protesting. They wanted the Americans to fuck off. And again, it's so ironic, right? How they were allegedly invaded Iraq to bring democracy, but yet if you assemble and you express, you know, your opinion, you protest, you get shot at. Some democracy, right? So let me read you what happened. Okay. This report was it's compiled by Human Rights Watch. Now I know that they're pushing a lot of the they just released one saying Putin is starving Syria. That's an interesting one. But nonetheless, I mean, this is pretty well documented, not just by them, but this is the one that happens to be that I happen to have open here. And this happened in April 2003. Okay. So this paragraph is quoting from that report, and they're saying that in April 2003, United States Army soldiers from the American 1st Battalion of the 82nd Airborne fired into a crowd of Iraqi civilians who were protesting their presence at a school within the city of Fallujah. The soldiers claimed they were receiving fire from the crowd, whereas the civilians said they were shot at first. Human Rights Watch, which inspected the area after the incident, found no physical evidence of shots fired at the building where U.S. forces were based. So yeah, I've read the report, and you know the Americans are saying, oh, we were shot at. Yeah, the problem is there are no bullet holes where they were standing. All the bullet holes are where the Iraqis were standing, and they even use a fucking 50 caliber, right? You know how big a 50 caliber bullet is? Big motherfucker like this. I mean, if you fire a 50 caliber with a sniper, it doesn't have to touch you. The shockwave will just rip your arm off, even if it passes right by. Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about a machine gun, right? These are civilians. They tried to cover up a fucking war crime, a massacre, a bloodbath. It's not the first time they tried to do the same thing in Haditha, right? And Mahmoudiyah, always. Look at the casualties, man. 20 dead, 70 plus injured. I mean, that's horrendous. And what it says here, three U.S. Army soldiers injured. And then if I recall correctly, they did another one just a few days later. There you go. See, here it is. 2 days later, on April 30th, 82nd Airborne was replaced in the city by the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. Okay? However, on the same day, 3 more unarmed civilians were killed by the United States soldiers during a daytime protest in front of the Baas Party headquarters and mayor's office. Once again, the U.S. suffered no casualties from the incident, but some U.S. soldiers were hurt in a retaliatory grenade attack on the Baas headquarters later that evening. I mean, I'm just trying to point out to you how much the city has been through. This is microscopic. I mean, these things that I've just shown you, it's not even 1/10 of 1% of what happened in Fallujah, right? I don't think we'll ever know, because, you know, a lot of these war crimes were covered up. As you can see here, they tried, and in other instances they tried. What about the other ones that we'll never know about because they successfully covered them up? Right? And it's not just that. I mean, of course, ISIS came in and occupied it afterwards. And I mean, that's a direct result of the war, right? So Iraqis, they've been through the invasion, right? And then the months after the invasion, and, you know, the so-called insurgency, as they say, it's a resistance. You know, when you invade a country, people are going to get pissed off, especially when you're massacring them. And then, of course, you had, you know, the sectarian war. But again, I think this is completely fueled by the United States. They know exactly what the fuck they're doing. They preyed on this on purpose to just further destabilize the country and shirk responsibility for what they did. And not just the United States, UK as well, of course. And then, of course, you had ISIS, right? You had Al-Qaeda, and then after that, ISIS. I mean, I can't even imagine what the Iraqis have been through, right? 18 years later, their country still does not know peace. And look at Afghanistan. 20 years later, their country still does not know peace. They barely even recovered from the Soviets. And then, America. It's heartbreaking. And so going back to the original story here about this video game that they're making. I mean, look, dude. Hold on. I'm trying to open it up for you, although I'm scared to click play because of the copyright issues, right? So, I mean, look let's be clear. I got a Battlefield poster up there. I mean, I have the whole collection. I've been playing it since I was a kid. Medal of Honor, the old ones, not this new crap. Call of Duty, okay, but at least in Battlefield Vietnam, you could play as the Vietnamese. Yeah, right. You can go, you can go and start playing as the Vietnamese, right? What is this? A reenactment of a bloodbath? Could you imagine if someone made a game about like 9/11 where you fly the planes into the towers? Could you imagine how outraged Americans would be? By the way, Danny Haifong, who I've had on the show, and Roberto Servent, right? They wrote this book, American Exceptionalism. And the first thing in the book that they talk about is how there was a movie being released in Australia. And the poster for the movie was someone jumping out of a building on fire. And the release date was 9/11. And it had nothing to do with 9/11. It was just the poster was someone jumping out of a window on fire. And this is in Australia. And they had to get rid of it and change it because, the whole world has to come to a standstill and more 9/11. Who mourns for the Iraqis? Who mourns for the Afghans? Who mourns for the Syrians, the Libyans, the Somalians? Huh? Who mourns for them? Right? You can't even have something that has nothing to do with 9/11 like that, but they come here and make a video game about a bloodbath. It's a bloodbath, what happened in Fallujah. They've still not even recovered. Go and look at the pictures of the children being born there. It's horrendous, man. I mean, it's not even like they knew exactly what they're doing. Everyone knows what happened in Fallujah. There's no illusions there, right? What's next? They're going to make one about the My Lai massacre? I mean, like, what? Could you imagine if someone made a video game about Dien Bien Phu, which is in Vietnam, when the French, they were wiped out? Right? This is a very solemn date for the French, Dien Bien Phu. Could you imagine? They would fucking lose it. Like, I can assure you Macron would lose it. And yet he refuses to apologize for their colonial crimes, for their genocide in Algeria, right? He acknowledges that it took place, but won't apologize for it. And this is, again, this Western mentality where it's okay for them to make movies about the violence that they've perpetuated, to glorify that in various mediums, be it, books, movies, video games. But, dare you not even do the same thing, but even remotely, indirectly make some kind of reference by accident. And like this movie, for example, that was going to come out, and it had a poster of someone jumping out of a building, nothing to do with it, and yet that caused it caused outrage. Right? Once again, you see this double standard. They try to whitewash their own crimes, and it's just disgusting. I mean, it's completely senseless. It really is. And even if you go and watch, for example, Once Upon a Time in Iraq, and I've said good things about this BBC documentary and also bad things that there are things that I've criticized about it. One of those things is, again, they talk about how the U.S. soldiers were like basically the victims of the war, right? They also obviously tell the side of the Iraqis, but they also let this journalist talk about how, again, this was in Fallujah, if I recall correctly. Talk about how, one of the U.S. soldiers got killed just because he wanted to take a picture. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's kind of messed up that you caused his death indirectly, but you're an invading force. I mean, what were you doing there? And in a mosque, no less, right? They went up, they tried to storm a mosque and kill an insurgent. Again, as Noam Chomsky correctly points out here, what the fuck does that even mean? Someone who's resisting an illegal occupation. is now an insurgent? You saw what they want. They want people to get on the floor and shackle them up. Even doctors, even patients. Fuck you. You get on the floor. It's just disgusting. That's what they do, right? And that's what the British did as well. And they've been at it for much longer. All right, let's not mince words. It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And again, my point here is that, yeah, I got nothing against video games, man. I played my fair share, but this is fucking tasteless, to say the very least. What a whitewashing. What a whitewashing of history. So thank you very much for your super chats. Thank you, Roger, for your lovely sticker that says goal. You know it, baby. Speaking of goal, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to have the Euro Cup in June, right? That's 3 months away because they postponed it last year, right? And most of you are probably wondering what the fuck the Euro Cup is. When I talk about football, I mean soccer, football, footy. So I'm looking forward to that. And anyway, thank you, Roger, for the super chat. Will also sent one. Thank you for that sticker. Thank you very much. Pancho says, greetings. My beautiful Polish wife, Ella, is a big fan of your work. You are doing amazing. Thank you. Thank you both. I'm really grateful, Pancho, and also to Ella, and thank you for being fans of the show and appreciating the work. I'm very humbled by that. I'm glad. I was actually just talking about this earlier because speaking of Poland, I was just talking about how I'll do it in the segment now, but it's just how the United States, they don't have allies. They use other countries, and Poland, Germany, Turkey, these are basically just launching pads for imperialism. We'll get to that in a second, right? But it's war is a racket. War is a racket. It's horrible. It's horrible. And actually, I think we also got some super chats on Rockfin that I forgot to get to. Give me 1 second so I can do those. And thank you so much to all of you for supporting the show. I'm very, very grateful. So just allow me 1 second, please. Here we go. Yes, we got one over here from Gregory. Gregory says, just as with Fallujah, early in Gulf War II, when U.S. and British forces bombed the city with depleted uranium, so too with Mosul 14 years later, when in May, June 2017, U.S. and Royal Air Force again bombed the city with depleted uranium shells. I did not know that. I'm not surprised, but I didn't know that. And finally to Raqqa in Syria in October 2017, when again depleted uranium shells and white phosphorus shells were dropped on and flattened the city by U.S. Air Force and SDF and USMC. So U.S. Air Force, Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, and Marine Corps. That's horrible, honestly. And I mean, I had Professor Merendi on the show, and you should go watch that interview if you guys haven't seen it. And he visited Mosul right after it was liberated. And once again, this is another thing about what happened in what is still happening in Iraq and Syria is that the U.S. and the U.K., they created the conditions for ISIS, first for Al-Qaeda to grow when they claimed that Saddam was harboring Al-Qaeda, which makes no sense. And then, of course, you had ISIS take over. Raqqa, it was one of the cities, Fallujah, Mosul. And, the Americans and the British and their coalition, they claim that they're still occupying Iraq and Syria's oil fields to protect us from Daesh, from ISIS. This is ridiculous. I mean, Mosul specifically was actually liberated by the PMU, by the Hashd al-Shabi, right? When we say PMU, we're talking about these Iranian-backed militias that Biden bombed last month. So Biden is bombing the people who kicked ISIS ass. I mean, way to go, asshole. Just literally helping Daesh. When Trump assassinated one of their leaders, one of the senior commanders in the PMU, Abu Mahdi and General Soleimani, who's head of the Quds Force, they were killed together in that drone strike. You had jihadists literally celebrating and putting out statements congratulating Trump for that. So I mean, we're not exaggerating here when we say this directly benefits these Takfiri jihadists, and it's like no one bats an eye. It's unbelievable. It's fucking unbelievable. But I didn't know that they had used depleted uranium in Raqqa and in Mosul, and I'm not surprised. I'm really not. I mean, Israel has not signed the Chemical Weapons Convention. Has the United States signed it? I'm pretty sure they haven't. I'm pretty sure they have not. And nonetheless, even if they did, they'd probably violate it anyway. I mean, it's horrific, honestly. It's heartbreaking. And it leaves, it creates problems for decades to come. Emblem Fate, thank you for the tip, says, I'm surprised they have not made a game about 1960s coups in Iran and Africa where you play as the CIA. Will they also make a Libya game where you play as the racist slavers that Obama funded? I would not be surprised, man. These motherfuckers literally profit off of war. So, I mean, if they can make profit off of video games and glorify their war and whitewash their crimes, you fucking know they will, right? They will. It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. Dude, I know you're joking, but like I can genuinely picture some motherfucker making a game where you're supposed to play like a CIA agent and then go in and do a coup and they portray it as something good. Didn't Amazon start doing the show with the Jim from The Office? What's the name of the show? Jack Ryan or something? Yeah, this show on Amazon, Jack Ryan, where he goes into Venezuela and he's like, it's just this pro-imperialist shit, right? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And Zero Dark 30, you remember Zero Dark 30 where they're talking about killing bin Laden? They still try to portray the torture as being effective. It wasn't. It literally wasn't. And Andy Worthington, he's like the expert on Guantanamo Bay. I also talked to him. He told us how most of the people being detained there, they got nothing to do with Al Qaeda, right? And this claim that they were able to torture people in CIA black sites and get bin Laden's location is complete bullshit. That's not what happened. And yet the movie portrays it as such, right? Like, oh, look, the torture is really bad and it's awful, but it was a necessary evil. No, the fuck it wasn't. It literally did not happen. I mean, the torture happened. I'm just saying it did not happen the way they're saying that it gave them the intel. No, it didn't. It absolutely did not. This is bullshit. So yeah, they will whitewash the crimes, man. You know it. Gregory, thank you for the tip. Gregory says, America kicks down. Let me actually put up the tips for you so you can read them with me. I apologize. Sometimes I'm able to, sometimes I'm not. So let me just do that for you real quick. Yalla, yalla, yalla. Wonderful. So I think you should be able to see that now. There we go. So Gregory is saying over here that hold on, I've got to scroll up again. Oh, Glenn says there's no moral component to capitalism. These people don't give a fuck about Yumi or anybody else. Yeah, I know. That's the way they do, man. It's all about their bottom line. They will literally sell their own children, and that's not an understatement because that's not an overstatement because you remember Joe Biden when those two veterans came up to him and they said, "You sent us to kill civilians." He walked away from them, and before he did, he was wagging his finger and saying like, "Oh, my son was there too." So like, you're happy or proud that you sent your son to kill civilians? Well, what the fuck does that mean? And then in another instance, he was also trying to use his son's death as an excuse to not give you Medicare for all. What the fuck? By the way, there was a clip I forgot to do during the press conference that Biden just gave where he's like saying like, "Oh, well, I don't want people to sit up at night worrying about not having healthcare like my father did, which is why I'm not going to give you healthcare." Motherfucker. God, they're horrible people. So yeah, they will even sell their own children. Literally. That's how fucking heartless they are. Am I lying? So Gregory says America kicks down the door when seeking to enforce its will on countries, while China politely knocks on the door, asks whether you'd like to have your grass cut, your windows cleaned, your car washed, and whether you'd like to go into business with them. Which do you think the householder will prefer? Well, hell, man, we both know it's the latter. Again, there are these people who try to, say that, oh, well, this is an aggressive strategy. They're just trying to buy up all this land and, take control. They're trying to do it, discreet. Well, not discreetly, but they're just trying to do it like by subversion, right? So they're trying to manipulate people into selling them their land and selling them in countries into selling them their infrastructure. And it's a hostile takeover that's being done right under their nose. Well, I mean, it doesn't get more hostile than bombing a country with depleted uranium and occupying it for 20 years. So once again, I think we know which is obviously worse. If you're going to claim that China is 100% guaranteed, malicious and malfeasant, which again I struggle to understand in this case. I'm not saying China's perfect. We have a lot of every country has issues. We have a lot of things we can criticize. But when we're talking about how they're dealing with other countries, right? How they're cooperating. Or engaging in trade, there's a clear difference here. All right, there's a very big difference. So there you go, and you kind of perfectly summed it up. So thank you to Eric for the sticker on YouTube. I appreciate it very much. And if you'll excuse me just 1 second over here. I'm just trying to put this. All right. So there's another segment that I wanted to do with you guys. You got to give me a second to see if I can find the documents. In the meantime, let me plug the show. I kindly implore you to sign up on Rockfin. Again, it's free. Don't cost you nothing. Rockfin.com/RichardMedhurst. And you can watch this stream right now on Rockfin. You can watch all the videos for free on Rockfin. But if you do pay $10 a month, you get every single channel's premium. So all of the people you see on the screen right now, you name it. Most of the lefties are already on there. So it's a great way to promote an alternative to YouTube, which I think we should all be doing. And also on Patreon, we are almost there. By the way, I've been working on something. Hold on. I want to show you an animation that I've been working on. Maybe this will make you laugh. I've been trying to change the screen, right? So you remember we have the thermometer with Joe Biden, like sniffing the membership goal. Let me show you what I've been working on, man. This is a sneak peek, okay? It's almost done. It's almost done. I hope you enjoy it. Just give me 1 second to find it. Okay. Are you guys ready? This is what the new one's going to look like. All right, so that's it for now. That was a sneak peek. I know it's a super bad mock-up for now, but I really enjoyed that idea with Pelosi. And by the way, we got a really cool animation also that Claudia made, which I'm not going to spoil just yet. You'll see it afterwards. But yeah, I think it's cool, man. We're beefing up the animation. So speaking of Pelosi, right? And this horrendous little animation over here. We want to make sure that we hit our goal of 400 members. Now, we're obviously a bit higher than that. I think we're at 393, but I want to get to 400 so we can play the new crab dance, because every time someone signs up on Patreon or on Rockfin, we play the crab dance. And again, I thank you so much for supporting the show on Patreon. Again, you can pick whatever you want, $1 a month, $2, whatever, $3.50 if you want. And yeah, so thank you for supporting the show. Let me see now if I can do this other segment for you. And if you got questions, keep them coming. Perfecto on YouTube says, you're a voice for us Arabs. Lots of love, brother. Of course. يعني أكيد شو هالشغلة أكيد ولو تسلم لي. I really appreciate it very much. Anarella says, thank you for speaking truth and trying to educate us and open our eyes to the horrors committed by these truly terrible people in power. Yeah, and I thank you for that. And I just want to, again, I think this is a given. I think you all know this, obviously. When we're talking about, Saudi Arabia, or we're talking about the United States or the UK, we're not saying every single human being in these countries is guilty of what their governments are doing. No, it's usually, again, it's a select few of assholes sitting at the top who are who are sending off their own to war. They don't even take care of their own population. They disgrace their own countries and the flag of their own countries, and they commit atrocities in the name of their people, right? So it's not the people. The average person is not a warmonger. Most people do not want to go to war. They do not want that. They want to live in peace, and that is something that is that's our common humanity. That's something that is that we all need to wake up to, right? Because these divisions, it's fucking brainwashing. It's exactly what they want, right? They want you to hate people that you've never met. Like, which is such a sick concept. Like, they want you to hate and dehumanize people who you've never met. You haven't been to their country, and they send you there to kill them. And this is not something unique to America or the United Kingdom. This is something that politicians, kings, people have done for a long time, and it's really shitty. So we of course it's a priority to educate, to highlight that we're all in this together. And again, I know that sounds super cliche, but it's fucking true, man. Like, so there you go. And thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. By the way, we got Bilal. Thank you so much for signing up on Patreon. I'm going to play Crab Dance just for you right now. And by the way, before I forget, yesterday was Waterfall. Hold on a second. Waterfall had her birthday, and I think someone else told me at the beginning of the stream, and now I can't see their name because the live chat is cut up to a certain limit. So someone else has their birthday, Reggie. I think it was Reggie. So I'm going to play this one as well for you. Happy birthday. Here we go, baby.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Isn't that lovely? And isn't that lovely? I have to put up the number of Rockfin people that are subscribed on Rockfin, because a huge shout out to you, because you're not just supporting me when you sign up. If you sign up on Rockfin and go watch, I don't know, like Lee Camp's video, for example, or Vanessa Beeley, or Unauthorized Disclosure, or Hardlands Media, anyone, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be politics, but they also get paid from that $10. So you're supporting all indie media, and there's no ads. So I think this is beautiful. And what I love the most is there's no censorship bullshit, so we don't have to bend over for YouTube. So anyway, I really want to thank you guys for that. I'm just checking how many we got on Rockfin. We got 34 people watching on Rockfin right now, but I think we got more than that who are subscribed, and I'm so grateful for you guys. So thank you for that. Just give me 1 second to double check over here. We had no sound issues today. That's a good thing, right? We've had no sound issues today. So that's an improvement, but I'll be getting a new sound card soon, and probably a new computer, because this piece of shit is like 7 years old. So it's it's time for a change, man. Wow, we got 75 subscribers on Rockfin. Yo, wow, I love you guys. That's amazing. I thought we were like 30 or something, which was already amazing to me. 75. Oh my god, that is amazing. Wow. And by the way, it also uses crypto, which is. Well, I'm not really that well versed with crypto, but after my experience with PayPal and you saw what happened to Whitney Webb with Patreon, they deleted her fucking Patreon. I mean, it's just from one day to the next, they can just cut off your salary, and then you're effectively censoring a journalist, because now you're giving them problems instead of letting them do their work. So anyway, you guys really need to support everyone who's been censored and demonetized, but. Thank you so much for subscribing on Rockfin. I really appreciate that. This is beautiful. It's amazing. Thank you. And all the people who like the videos, comment, and share them. Please share them, because no one knows about Fallujah. These things, despite how horrible they are, despite the atrocities, it's like they're making video games now. So, I mean, there is really a responsibility to educate others, I feel like. And I don't know. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. So thank you for that. And we also got Levon, and we also got Riyadh, who just joined on Patreon. Thank you for that. I'm going to play another crab dance just for you. And I hopefully got another segment coming. So let's do it.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Yo, man. I love it. You remember how this started out like a year ago? Like I was saving the crab dance for when Pete Booty Juggalo dropped out. Also, I remember someone got so offended that I called him Pete Booty Juggalo, and I think we were giving nicknames to all of them, right? What were we calling Warren? I can't remember. But you know, it was the primaries, and someone unsubscribed. They were like, "Oh, you're just like Trump." What? Okay. Anyway, so I was waiting for him to drop out, and well, now he's the Treasury Secretary, right? And not the Treasury Secretary, excuse me, the Transport Secretary, and that's Janet Yellen. So Pete Buttigieg, you know, I was waiting for him to drop out, and then we played the crab dance, and now it's evolved into this like fucking ritual. I just love it. I love adding to them. I love building on them. So I can't wait for you guys to see the next one. It just, you know, I always deliver. You know, I deliver, man. I deliver always. So again, my pledge to you, and unlike politicians, I mean what I'm saying. When we get to 1,000, both on Patreon and on Rockfin, I'm gonna make a piñata, and we'll have a vote about what that piñata will be. Okay, so Henry Kissinger, Madeleine Albright, Mike Pompeo, who knows, Dick Cheney. I think I'm going to vote for Dick Cheney, but we'll have a poll about that. That'll be good. So anyway, speaking of asshole secretaries of state, let's get to them. We have another topic that I want to cover over here for you. All right. So the United States is threatening Germany with sanctions. Yes. Not the axis of evil of the 21st century, right? Iran, Syria, North Korea. No. This time it's the other axis of evil, right? So yes, even though Germany is one of the United States allies, they are threatening them with sanctions. Why? Over the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is, you know, it's a project between Russia and Germany. So let's take a look at this article. This is from CSNBC. Top U.S. diplomat, meaning Secretary Blinken, right? Warns German companies building Nord Stream 2 pipeline that they could face sanctions. Okay, so Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned Germany on Wednesday that companies building the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline could face sanctions as Washington tries to pressure Berlin to pull its support for the controversial Russian-backed energy project. Russia. Blinken, during a press conference at NATO headquarters, said he made clear to German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas that President Joe Biden opposes the project, which would pipe gas directly from Russia to Germany under the Baltic Sea, bypassing US and EU ally Ukraine. Aw. Is that going to be bad for Hunter Biden? Surely that's not good for his business adventures, right? The secretary said he wanted to make sure during his conversation with Maas that there was no ambiguity in the U.S. position on the pipeline. Wow. That means you better do what we say, right? We're not messing around here. The pipeline divides Europe. I'm quoting Blinken. Huh? The pipeline divides Europe. It exposes Ukraine and Central Europe to Russian manipulation and coercion, and it goes against Europe's own stated energy security goals. President Biden has been very clear for a long time in his view that Nord Stream 2 is a bad idea. And I reiterated that view directly to the German foreign minister. And I also made clear that firms engaged in pipeline construction risk U.S. sanctions. So basically, Blinken, as I told you, as I warned you, is Mike Pompeo. All right, it's Mike Pompeo with a mask. Right? If you recall, in late summer of last year, so we're talking August, I think August, September, Mike Pompeo, he went on this little tour in Europe, and he visited all the surrounding countries neighboring Germany, but not Germany. And, you know, in the context of diplomacy, that's sending a message, right? That's sending a message. Especially when you're supposedly allied with that country. I mean, how many tens of thousands of troops do they have there, right? And he visited Austria, for example. I missed an opportunity to throw a shoe at him. What a shame. I still regret that. You know, he visited Poland. You know, he went around to all these countries and told them not to partake in this, in the Nord Stream pipeline, and specifically. He told them specifically not to partake in anything Chinese, right? So Huawei products, no Huawei products, right? Get rid of that. And he didn't visit Germany because of this, specifically because of this, because he knows that the pipeline is like 95% complete. I think they're talking about activating it this year. And so he's pissed off about that. And so the reason he did not visit Germany was to send a message like, you know, you're working with Russia now? Okay, we're going to give you the cold shoulder. Ooh. And so now, this is incredible. They're saying you're going to face sanctions too. Wow. So the department reiterates its warning that any entity involved in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline risks U.S. sanctions and should and should immediately abandon work on the pipeline. Yeah, so I just want to make a point here. I want to make a point here because when the United States talks about their allies, right, and he did the same shit, today at NATO when he was giving his speech. He's in Belgium, and he's giving his speech about, we have to work with our partners, and we value our close relationships with our allies. Always allies, allies, allies. Okay, yeah, the United States does not have allies. Okay, the United Kingdom, the United States, they don't have allies, and even in the case of the United Kingdom, I would argue that they're the United States bitch. Right? Yes, the United States is a demon spawn of the UK, of Britain, but this idea, and it's an actual phrase, the special relationship, which refers to the UK and the US. I think the special relationship is between Israel and the US, and the UK is their bitch now. Now, you know, some people don't view it that way, but whatever. My point here is that this applies even more so to other countries, right? You know, you look at Poland, for example. Every Secretary of State will go there, just as Pompeo did. You know, they'll all go there and say, oh, Poland is our close ally. The only thing that they care about in Poland is creating a buffer with Russia, right? And putting their Patriot missile systems there, right? So they just want to create a wall. Yeah, not an actual physical wall like Trump. No, a wall of missiles, right? And the same thing with Turkey. So Turkey is in NATO. I think one of the only reasons Turkey is in NATO is because they want to create another buffer with the Middle East, right? They want to have their Patriot systems there, and there's a huge row, by the way, recently because Erdogan is saying he wants to go with Russian weapons, right? With the S-400, if I recall. The S-400 is the latest model. I can't recall if you wanted the S-300 or S-400, probably the S-400. But you know, and this is very bad because these surface-to-air missiles they're a bit more capable than the Patriot ones, and you know, it's just it's unacceptable, as you're seeing here, for a NATO ally, for a ally of the United States to even contemplate working with Russia, right? The whole reason they created NATO in the first place was to mess with Russia, right? To counter Russia, and so it's just so indicative. It's emblematic of the relationship that the United States has with other countries. It's like the mafia. And I think it's a good analogy because, you know, the mob will come to you and they're like, they pretend to be your friends, right? and they say, oh, you need to pay for protection, right? They start a protection racket. And I think NATO is really emblematic of that. You know, what is it, like 2% or something? And they were pissed off that Germany was not paying. Trump was threatening to, you know, withdraw troops because they're not paying their dues. It's like a protection racket. And it's not just with the armed forces. It's not just with this military organization. It's also even with their economic endeavors, right? So, I mean, is Germany really independent if they're being bullied by the United States, telling them who they can trade with? That's insane, right? Germany's Europe's strongest economy. I think they know what they're doing. I don't think they need to be nannied by the United States. But I just want to highlight to you how the United States does not have allies. It has countries that it keeps on a leash like poodles, right? And they will always be at a disadvantage and in a submissive position. I mean, this is incredible, right? So just to read you the last paragraph from here, they say the Trump administration imposed sanctions on a Russian pipe-laying ship, but it has been unclear how hard a line the Biden administration will take. I mean, what do you mean? The fucking headline says they're going to put sanctions on Germany. It's pretty clear. Anyway, Russia's Gazprom owns Nord Stream 2, the company tasked with the planning, construction, and operation of the pipeline. The project has received financing from Germany's Uniper and Wintershall Dea, France's Engie, Austria's OMV, and the Netherlands' Shell. So, you know, these are several countries that are operating and financing and participating in this project. And once again, this is, as I said before, this is why Pompeo came here. And he was saying things like, you know, we don't want you working on Nord Stream. We don't want you allowing Huawei products into your country. And, you know, they're threatened. This is the United States showing that they're threatened by Chinese tech, right? They don't want any competition. They don't want competition with Silicon Valley, with Apple, with Facebook, with Google. They can't have that. And so, you know, even though the NSA, you know, Snowden, Glenn Greenwald, I mean, they showed us how the NSA is spying on everyone, and they're using these companies. These companies have been participating with them in the PRISM program for decades now, right? Even though they're the ones that are carrying out this mass surveillance, they're spying on everyone, Americans and non-Americans. The US government is turning around and accusing the Chinese of installing spyware on their phones. I mean, look, man, to be perfectly honest, I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it's, at the very least, anyone can see that that's extremely hypocritical. And I would lean towards thinking that it's more of a disinformation. You know, it's just bullshit to try and tarnish the image of Chinese products, of Chinese tech, because they're scared. They're intimidated that, you know, they're gaining such a huge market share. And not just that. You saw with TikTok as well. Remember, Trump wanted to ban TikTok because they wouldn't sell themselves to Microsoft. He was like, you either let an American company buy you because of how popular it is, or we will ban you. I mean, what the fuck is that? Right? They talk about free trade and cooperation and you know, oh, we you know, we want to engage with other countries with mutual respect, and we're all about you know, a fair market, and everyone goes out and makes their own fortune. And then it turns out, no, if you don't do what we say, we're going to fuck you. No, that's a mafia. That's a racket. And they do it to their own allies. So what do you expect? It's insane, right? This is not even political, because they're saying here, oh, this is for Europe's security. Now, to be fair, I do recall a moment where Russia did cut off gas to Europe. I think this was when I was a kid. This was early 2000s, and there was some kind of crisis going on there. So, you know, their reasoning is that, well, look, if you let Russia, you know, take a huge market share, gain a huge market share in Europe, and overtake Ukraine, which is, you know, which is allied to the United States and been funded by the United States, well, then you're going to put your own future at risk, because the Russians could turn off the gas at any second. But it's not about that. They don't actually give a fuck about Europe's security. They just care about their own profits. I mean, it doesn't even get more clear than the fact that Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, was working at a Ukrainian gas company. I mean, what the conflict of interest could not be more clear. I don't think it's only about his son. Obviously, it's not. You know, this is bigger than Joe Biden's son. But I mean, look at this, right? Look at this. And you know, when it comes to Syria, for example, there's also this. You know, if you go talk to the BBC, which you shouldn't. I mean, if you listen to the BBC, rather, you know, they'll tell you this is a conspiracy theory, right? This is like completely outlawed. But there's this concept that the war on Syria started because of a pipeline, because Qatar and Turkey wanted to build a pipeline that would go through Syria to Europe. And this would undercut Russia's market share. Now, this is an actual project. It's not made up. There was an actual project for this. But I don't think that's the only reason that there's a war on Syria. I think it's much more not obvious, but I think the fact that, you know, Syria is a thorn in Israel's side, or it's actually the other way around. Israel is a thorn in Syria's side, honestly. They bomb Syria every week. They've stolen the Golan Heights. I mean, Syria is not a threat to them, but nonetheless, they won't recognize Israel, right? They defend the Palestinian cause. They're allied with Iran. They're allied with Russia. I think it's more about regime change than just a pipeline, honestly. I think that's what it's more about. But both could be true. Both could be true, right? But my point here, just to go back, is that there is a concerted effort to make sure that, you know, they mess with Russia being able to export gas. And they're trying to mask it as a security concern. But it's not about that. It's about the United States dictating to their allies, their so-called allies, what they can and can't do, who they can trade and who they can't trade with. I mean, you're going to sanction your own allies, really? Wow. Okay. I'm sure the way they're going to frame this, though, is not, they might not sanction, I mean, they're saying they might sanction German companies directly, but, you know, Russia is also subject to some sanctions, and they might end up saying that, well, by extension, since you're dealing with Russian company that we've sanctioned, you know, you're also subject to the sanctions. That's how it works, right? That's how they dissuade people from trading, from cooperating with finance and commerce, and how they choke countries, right? They intimidate third parties from just participating in trade and commerce and finance, and it's intimidation. It's like the mafia. It's literally like the fucking mob. It's unbelievable, right? So I just wanted to go through that quickly. Honestly, I don't think Germany is going to abandon the pipeline now. And you have so many countries that have committed to this. Like I said, it's almost complete, according to what I read. I think it's like 95%. No, they're not. They're not going to drop that now. But it is interesting watching the United States panic because of Chinese products, because of Russian gas, and Russia has a lot of gas. I think most of it is untapped. Again, my geography might be a bit rusty, but I remember we studied Russia, and from what I recall, most of their gas is untapped, right? And it's hard to actually even get to, at least with current technology. But of course, that doesn't mean Russia doesn't have anything to sell. They do, and they have a considerable market share. So yeah, it's imperialism again. It's all about the fucking money. That's what it's about. It's all about the resources. And again, I told you Blinken is just like Pompeo with a mask. I told you in every aspect, he's saying the same shit about Iran, about the nuclear deal. If you haven't watched my episode with Scott Ritter, please do. Just Google the communique, Press TV, Richard Medhurst, Scott Ritter, Iran nuclear deal. You'll find it. And Scott says that the U.S. has no intention of rejoining the deal, right? And I think he's right. These people, they are pretending to be different and more diplomatic. They're not. They're the same gangsters. So there you go. Someone made a point to me once. I can't remember who this was. Someone made the point to me that the United States never leaves a country until they're forcefully kicked out. And I was just thinking about Germany, how, technically, how long has it been now since 45, right? Okay, you want to argue the wall came down in 89? So how long has it been since 89? 32 years now? Why are there so many American bases in Germany? Because they use it to bomb Afghanistan, right? They use it as a launching pad. Although they have these various terms, right, lily pads and so on. But Germany has a huge amount of American bases there, right? I think more than any other country in Europe, with the exception maybe of the UK. I'm not sure. I don't remember anymore. Germany's been liberated for a while, and those American bases are still there. Weird, right? Weird. So we have a couple of super chats here that I want to read to you. Again, my apologies that I can't pull them up on the screen. For some reason, it's not working. I used to have them in a window. I will work on it though. This one is from Eddie Garcia. Thank you. Eddie says, your videos are being censored from YouTube. The same is happening to some independent Spanish journalists. Journalists who are broadcasting news you'll never see on regular media. I believe you and them would work well together or shared each other experiences about YouTube censoring videos. Great job on your videos. You're doing what most won't do. That's admirable. My respect for you. Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that very much. It's very humbling. I'm curious, I'd like to check out their work, these Spanish journalists, because, I talked about how, Press TV, which is Iranian, and then you have Telesur, which is, they're doing, both of these outlets do news in English, right? So they've been banned. Telesur had their Facebook page taken down, Press TV, their Google accounts several times. And, there's definitely censorship, especially for, anti-imperialist stuff that is coming from Spanish speaking world or from the Middle East or the West Asia, rather, with Iran. And so, yeah, I absolutely believe that. And just in general, like even people that are in the US, as we're seeing right now, they're being censored, right? it's not just that, but I'm not surprised, but I would definitely like to check out their work. And of course, I'm always down to collaborate and discover more. There's a whole world out there of great journalism, and again, my Spanish, I don't really speak Spanish, but I speak French, and they're quite close to each other, so I can understand a bit sometimes, right? So I'd be curious to know about that, and thank you for your comment. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure I did not miss anyone. So maybe I think this one is on Rockfin. I can pull that one up for you at the very least. Wonderful, boy. Splendid. Splendid. I haven't talked about the royal family. Do you guys want me to? I've been trying not to. I hate every time there's a fucking wedding or I don't want to. I have a few things to say, though. I have a few things to say if you want me to. Let me just pull this up for you, this super chat on Rockfin. So, hold on. I'm trying to scroll up over here. There we go. From Gregory. Gregory, thank you so much for all your tips tonight. It says, America spends over 50% of its GDP on the military-industrial complex, including companies like Boeing, and another 20% on the healthcare industry, including Big Pharma. That leaves a mere 30% of economic activity set aside for the productive economic capacity of the U.S. economy. In these circumstances, it is crystal clear that America is on the point of collapse. Anyone thinking otherwise is a fool. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the. I think as you correctly pointed out, it's. I know that with the discretionary budget, it's definitely more than 50% that is sent to the military, right? And there's that story. I think AOC even highlighted this once about how you have $21 trillion that have gone missing. Right. The Pentagon, I think, has been audited twice, and they found like trillions of dollars missing. And if you go on Snopes, which of course will tell you the truth as always, they say, oh, no, it's not exactly true and whatnot. Yeah, like people who are stealing $21 trillion would not try to cover that up. No, it's insane. Right. So my point is that I think I think you have even more money than they're telling you that is going towards that shit. It's unbelievable. And again, the private contractors, Blackwater, they've renamed themselves to Academy, or I can't remember how to pronounce it. That's like a racket within a racket. Yeah, they're charging 8 times the same thing, and it's like a shadow army just lingering around. It's crazy. And you have that drone base in Niger in Africa, which they built, cost hundreds of billions, which most Americans don't even know about. I mean, most of the world doesn't even know about. Look how they rob everyone. So there you go. No. Someone says creative experiments is asking, are you talking about the Spanish royal family? No, I'm talking about the British royal family. So, okay, you know, I'll just give my thoughts on it very briefly. So I'm sure you all saw this controversy about Oprah's interview with when Prince Harry and Meghan, and you know, it caused a lot of controversy. I think Piers Morgan ended up resigning because of it, you know, about how the British royal family is racist. And they were apparently concerned with the color of her baby, right? I think his name is Archie, right? And that he's not going to get any security. And even though he's like, what is he, 9th in line to the throne or something? And I think Piers Morgan also made some comments about her mental health, because she said that all this pressure was, you know, it almost drove her to suicide, something along those lines. Now, look, I want to say a couple of things here, okay? I mean, you don't have to like Meghan or anyone for that matter, and what they say, but I don't think it's appropriate to start invalidating their mental health stuff. Like, I mean, first of all, you're not a doctor, so I don't know how you're qualified to say, you know, what kind of psychological distress she was under. You're just not. And you can disagree with someone without, you know, downplaying or invalidating their mental health struggles, or any health struggles for that matter, right? Because this is again contributing to the stigma against mental health, and I don't think that's productive at all. So I will say that. And the racism thing about the color of her baby, that's some real stuff. You know, I've had the misfortune of hearing that before. So, you know, that's a thing. Like, people say shit like that, and I would not be surprised if, you know, that happened. So I don't have any reason to doubt her about that. Now, at the same time, I mean, yes, the British royal family. What do you think the British Empire was doing for the last hundreds of years? I'm kind of like speechless. The UK was controlling 25% of the world's population, 25% also of the planet's landmass under British colonial rule. So it's not like exactly the UK has a reputation for human rights. Yes. And there's a lot of death, a lot of destruction, a lot of slavery, a lot of racism that was perpetuated. I mean, by definition, it's colonization, right? You're subjugating people and treating them as inferior, and invading their countries. And you know, of course, there's racism perpetuated, right? They even own slaves. So I'm not sure exactly why this is some kind of a surprise. But yeah. That's all I have to say about the issue. I always hate this fucking every time there's something about the royals, they do a media circus about it, right? You had the wedding, when was that, in 2011, I think, with Kate, and you know, God, it's live broadcast on every fucking channel across the world, and I even remember as a kid, I saw Princess Diana's funeral, right? I was living in Pakistan at the time, and then I remember seeing it on TV, and I mean. It's crazy, like, because with her, I mean, they hounded her to death, the media. So I'm confused why Harry is sitting down now and giving them any more time. But anyway, it's his business. But yeah, I also, wasn't he in Afghanistan, Harry? I mean, you're what are you doing in Afghanistan? And then, you know, claiming that you're shocked by racism. What the fuck do you think the occupation of Afghanistan is? That's not racist? Oh, I can show you war crimes, and they are so foul and vile and terrifying that only someone who, you know, only a system of racism could perpetuate such horrors. So yeah, I don't see how you can serve in Afghanistan and then pretend that you're shocked by racism, and because he's bragged about it as well, right? He's proud of his service. I mean, it's one thing if you've been there and then you have an epiphany and you realize, oh shit, that was wrong. But it's another when you're you're proud of occupying other people, and then you claim that you're not racist. And I mean, I don't understand. You look at your own literally your family's history. I mean, I don't know what to say, man. And you know what appears? Oh man, holy shit! I have to play this clip for you. This is the worst part. Let me show you. Oh my God, this is the worst one. This is the worst one. I'm getting this clip out for you. All right. Oof. Here we go. I found it. Let me just play you this clip. This is what Nigel Farage had to say. And for those of you who don't know Nigel Farage, he is a racist piece of shit. You know, he campaigned for Brexit, and one of the posters that he put up in the street was like this photograph of Syrian refugees, you know, walking in a line somewhere, and he's like, "Oh, look, these refugees are coming. We have to leave the EU quickly." Like, just straight up xenophobia. I mean, and so here's what he had to say about this. Okay, take a look.
Racist. The Queen and the royal family have spent the last 70 years touring round the Commonwealth. The vast majority of those people are black and Asian. I would put it to you, nobody in the world in history has done more for people of colour than the British royal family. I'm disgusted, the British people are disgusted, and by a majority of 2-1, opinion polls now say we want them stripped of their titles.
Have you ever heard such drivel in your entire life? The British, no one has done more for people of color than the British royal family. I think what he meant to say is no one has done more to people of color than the British royal family. And notice how he says, oh, look, you know, the Queen, the royals, they spend their time touring the Commonwealth. Remind me, Nigel, what is the Commonwealth and how did it come about? How did it come into being? What is the Commonwealth? It couldn't be those former colonies, you know, where we were butchering people and, you know, subjugating them and treating them like subhuman. That Commonwealth? What does that even mean? That, oh, look, these people of color have been graced by the presence of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II herself. They should be grateful, these bloody peasants. Damn you, boy! What kind of colonial bullshit is this motherfucker spouting in 2021? I cannot believe that he is that stupid. No way. He knows what the fuck he's saying. He knows what he's saying. He loves provoking people. What a dumb fucking thing to say. What an ignorant thing to say. I mean, you know you can disagree or say you don't like Meghan and Harry without making ridiculous, utter bullshit statements like this and whitewashing history and you know, Britain's colonial past. What? I'm done. So there you go. That is. That is all I have to say about these about this issue. There we go. And over here, there is a super chat from MHC on Rockfan for a tip on Rockfan. Thank you for that. MHC says, I just saw some videos on YouTube explaining the situation in the Middle East and Israel specifically. Though I don't know enough to speak to their accuracy, I think that the reality of the issue might finally be breaking through, at least a little, into the US, despite all the efforts to keep that from happening. Well, I mean, there's definitely an effort to whitewash what's happening in Palestine. Yeah, and this is why anyone who speaks out against this, anyone criticizes Israel, immediately you're anti-Semitic, even if you are Semitic yourself, right? Apparently Arabs are not Semitic or Palestinians, and that's really weird. So anyway, but they even call other Jews anti-Semitic. I mean, it's look at what happened in the Labour Party, how they started this witch hunt against Corbyn, against Williamson, and even other Jewish MPs. It's incredible. It's incredible. And so there is a great documentary from Al Jazeera, The Lobby. Although Al Jazeera, I mean, they've done some questionable shit as well. But this one is pretty informative. It's pretty insightful. Some good investigative journalism. And I recommend you watch that. And yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of videos about that topic on YouTube, they demonetize almost everything I say about Israel. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad that at least some people are waking up to it, especially when the United States is funding Israel to the tune of $3.8 billion a year. I would also want to know where that money is going. And $500 million they got in December, $2.5 million. What is it, in March, May? I can't remember when they passed the HEROES Act. There've been so many highway robberies disguised as relief bills in the last year. I can't keep track anymore, even though I reported on every single one. But yeah, in the HEROES Act, they gave them like $2.5 million. It's just, the special relationship is not the UK and the US. It's Israel and the US. That's for sure. That's for sure. So yeah, there you go. And just one moment, if you'll excuse me. So I think I didn't miss anyone on Rockfin. That's good. I got everyone, and I thank you all for tuning in. And before I bid you farewell, I kindly ask you to support the show if you can, only if you can, of course. You can do. Hold on, let me play the Pelosi animation in a second. And if you can, please donate on PayPal or Venmo or Cash App. Anything you like, anything you want, you can just scan the QR code. Anything is appreciated. And of course, we have the GoFundMe. As you guys have been seeing, I'm having a few issues with my goddamn computer. The GoFundMe specifically for tech upgrades, although honestly, anything is. So if you can please help us reach our goal, that would be really good. Look how close we are, man. We're right there. That's got to be like 93, 94%. We're right there. So please, if you can, donate on the GoFundMe. And again, highly, highly implore you to join on Rockfin and make an account for free. At the very least, just make an account for free. You'll find all your favorite lefty channels on there and more. And yeah, other than that, thank you so much also for everyone who signed up to support on Rockfin and Patreon. And if you want to get your war criminal merch, you know where to go, man. Store.RichardMedhurst.com. All right. These, the Uncle Joe Rainbow Coalition Death Cult t-shirts, they've been selling like hotcake. So get yours. And if you do get one, please tag me on Twitter. I'm always happy seeing that. So there you go. Again, I still have not gotten a hoodie, unfortunately, because they keep running out of my size. But I've gotten this long tee over here. This one's good. And I'm going to get more. So there you go. Store.RichardMedhurst.com. Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult. That's about it, guys. That's all I'm going to say for the plug. Thank you for sharing and commenting and participating and tuning in. Very grateful to have you. Very honored and privileged. Thank you so much. And I bid you a farewell, a good night, a good morning, wherever you are. That's it. That's it. Go, you know the thing. So thanks a lot for that. I'll see you guys very soon. Okay? Bye-bye. Ma salame.